This bearded man in glasses looks absolutely crazy when he shouts the name Alicia. He is about to burst into a fight. Losing control, he pointed his finger and declared that she is officially expelled from his possessions and from the entire territory of Bromeia. Alicia just stands still, utterly confused, barely utters a word, while the reality, she is the 16-year-old daughter of a count, finally sinks in. She is still amazingly calm, remains in place, and on her head sits some small creature, giggling relaxedly, and flowers and leaves float around as if everything is completely fine. She looks around at the landscape and asks someone to watch over the territory of Alicia Bromeus. She sends a quiet message upward to her mother in heaven. Lately she has been thinking about her all the time. Alicia remembers the time when her mother was still nearby and the words she once said to her. Alicia truly took them to heart and carries them with her to this day. We see her very young, squeezed into piles of books and grabbing at laboratory equipment. Essentially, she is completely worn out, working to the bone to be the perfect daughter for the Lord. Nearby, some boy looks completely stunned by what she says. But the facts do not change because of this. The man's voice echoes throughout the estate and he informs her that she is officially cut off from the family. Alicia staggers back in complete shock, asks her father to wait and explain what he is even talking about. And before she can hear the answer, a giant explosion shakes the building. She almost falls and the air is filled with cracking trees and stones break. Turning around, she sees. She hears a scream and realizes that the shed in the yard has just exploded. Alicia's face turns pale moment by moment as she tries to gather all this chaos in her mind. And further, in the western Zion part of the territory, things are no better. A group of adventurers is once again overwhelmed by a pack of giant monsters. And by now, the Red Eagle party leader has definitely caught up completely. He clenches his sword and dreams that they might have some kind of anti-monster tincture just to somehow deal with this mess. But he knows even if they had a little, it would not be enough for what lives in the big forest. This is a losing battle because in the city you can only buy low-grade trash. It is almost useless against real threats, and this realization destroys the team from within. He feels almost hopeless. He is haunted by the dream of finding a high-ranking repellent poison while the rest of the crew struggles to somehow drag their gear through the forest. Thank you. Then their investigation of the great forest might finally get underway. The blonde adventurer looks exhausted and when he admits that any pharmacist capable of creating something so powerful would have been seized many years ago by both a great guild and some noblemen. Alicia watches in complete horror as the fire spreads and exclaims that her laboratory is being destroyed. The father's destructive voice cuts through the air. He tells her that this was never her lab, that he is just cleaning up trash from his land and watching his own step, Alicia. He asks why anyone could have committed such cruelty at all and rummages through the ashes. Maybe there is something left that she can save, while the accountant pushes his point, whether she still hasn't realized. He leans out the window and starts screaming, reminding her that he is Thomas Bromeus, the lord of this entire domain, and Alicia can only stare blankly at him in response, completely mute, while her father continues to erupt into a vicious tirade. He repeatedly extols his greatness, boasting that he was the one who transformed this wasteland, endlessly emptying into a flourishing city. And that's not all, because he recalls his time in the Northern War, claiming that this territory was given to him as a reward for his legendary merits. And he looks down on everything, saying, the point is, she is no longer worthy to be his daughter. He directly points out that our elder sister Merida is a true lady. Her circle is the high society of the capital, social receptions, and while she is there, it is painful and humiliating for her because Alicia herself decides to lock herself in a hut that smells of herbs. She tries to defend herself, but he doesn't even listen. Alicia tries to explain that she was only researching potions, but her father just looks at her blankly, and that look burns everything away. With complete disgust, he asks her what the point is in creating such a mess. Thomas grabs his head as if struck by a deadly migraine and says that a woman's value completely depends on whether she can marry into a well-known family. He is not interested in her work, and she does not calm down, calls herself a failure for playing with a useless skill instead of fulfilling her noble duties. Alicia can only stand still while he tells her that she is no longer needed in his house, and he shouts for her to get off his territory immediately. Alicia breaks through the gates and rushes away, apologizing to her mother, who is in heaven. Walking through the city streets, Alicia finally realizes she will have to deal with a bunch of things just to take care of herself. She looks truly depressed, throws behind her research equipment, but whispers to the potion to wait because Alicia does not give up. She vows to keep brewing until the whole world sees how truly impressive they are. Alicia stomps the streets with a stone-cold gaze. She is stubbornly determined to get forgiveness from her father, or at least from Lord Thomas, as he is now to her. She is not satisfied with the day he simply kicked her out. But suddenly she trips over her own feet and crashes face-first right in the middle of the road. Nearby, some kid shows this to his mother and laughs, as if she fell for no reason at all. The mother tries to be polite and tells her son that laughing at people just because they are not very skilled is not nice. Alicia gets up on her feet, noticeably embarrassed, and quietly reminds herself, "You don't need to be an athlete at all to brew wonderful potions." She decides that she just needs to buy new tools and ingredients. After all, over the years of selling her work, she has saved a decent amount of cash. She hurries to the bank for her own funds, but what is happening now becomes a shock for life. The account is completely empty. And the guy behind the counter just nodded and confirmed the terrible news, leaving her standing there in complete shock. Everything turned out simply. Her older sister, Meredith, had been using a power of attorney to withdraw money from the account regularly. The waitress looks at her as if she has lost her mind and asks if she really has never checked her own balance until today. Alicia can't even process it and breaks down, screaming at the top of her lungs. Meanwhile, the narrative switches to the Skrull Trading Company building. Erica Skrull stands and literally freezes in shock. She shouts, asking if Alicia really lost her laboratory due to a fire, was kicked out of her home, and on top of that, all the money disappeared from her bank account. She turns and says, "Is it true that all those potion dresses that were given to her for years have completely disappeared?" And Alicia sinks down at the table and quietly confirms, "It's all over." Alicia looks as if she has been completely shut down inside when she realizes her family hated her more than she could ever imagine. Erica looks at her and notices that probably deep shock has stretched her empty face. But then Erica reaches out and grabs Alicia's hand, ordering her not to let depression win. She throws her a glance and says that her potion brewing skills are truly incredible. A real waste for the whole world if a talented master accidentally dies somewhere in a ditch. Felicia looks up completely exhausted by these kind words. She asks what happened to Erica because usually she has a huge mouth and never says anything nice like that. Erica doesn't take remarks well and sharply replies. She tells Alicia that she will slap her if she attacks with complaints again because now Erica is just a beggar without a penny. Wasting no time, Erica briskly gets to work and immediately emphasizes, Alicia literally has nowhere to go, so she should come and work as their exclusive potion master. Alicia freezes for a moment and repeats this thought verbatim while Erica waits for an answer. Erica reminds her that she is the head of the largest trading company branch in the entire kingdom, so she definitely has the power to arrange such a deal right now. Erica does not slow down. She warms up the client with conversation, explains to Alicia that she can place a high-tech workshop for her in a completely different district so that she can continue her research in the best place. But she does not stop there. She offers unlimited mono-waiter and all consumables or research works that Alicia may ever want. Erica moves closer and asks what Alicia thinks about this deal, and honestly, she feels too confident, saying such a thing is exactly what everyone expects from someone as persistent as her. It is mutually beneficial, it saves Alicia and brings money to the company. Alicia looked at her friend and admitted, Erica is truly incredible. And although they are both only 16, Erica already manages to apply her skills to really change the world. Alicia's facial expression changes, it becomes serious. She tells Erica that although the studio idea sounds great, she will have to refuse the offer, and this is completely. Erica boiled with surprise. She can hardly believe that Alicia says no and demands an explanation of what plan she has for the future if she refuses such a chance. Alicia remains calm while they sit over tea. She says that loneliness finally made her understand one thing despite all the crazy things that happened and what she could not foresee. She clenches her fists as she says this. She wants to test if she can cope on her own just as Erica did for herself. Because she felt on her own skin, everything built on someone else's strength can be taken away just as quickly as it was given, and it will resurface again in memories of the old life. Here and now she decides, she will brew potions only in a place she built with her own hands with her own two hands. Alicia casts a quiet, meaningful glance and it becomes clear. She is ready to move forward and is serious about it. Erica says she will respect this decision. She rings a small bell, calls her employees, and lets the news settle a bit. She does not waste a second. She does not ask Alicia what her plan for the future is. Meanwhile, the butler is driving up to the back part. Alicia points to the map at the needed place and explains. In the neighboring territory, there is a city right next to a huge forest where all the materials she needs are. She says the plan is simple. Brew potions there and sell them, and Erica suddenly realizes how much Alicia loves her job. Before she leaves, Erica extends her hand and gives her friend a small box to take it, and there is no doubt, that's how it is. Alicia finally settles in the back of the moving wagon and intently gazes at the silver bracelet Eric gave her as a farewell gift. It turns out this is a magical instrument. It can hide a person's real skills from the world. And Erica also explained that those who have appraisal powers see right through her, so she needs to keep it on to avoid unnecessary trouble. Moreover, Erica was climbing right into Alicia's face and made her promise never to take off that thing again no matter what and under no circumstances. Alicia remembers Eric's warning. At home people are polite and sufficiently correct not to impose their judgment skills on others. But as soon as she crosses the border, all agreements fall apart. And then someone might very well start secretly comparing with her statistics. Alicia feels, this whole story sounds a bit too loud, think about it. Her status is simple like a score. She is an ordinary peasant woman of F rank, and her only real talent is the skill of brewing potions. Ability not of those that impress with imagination. It extracts magical properties from herbs or plants and transfers them into water. The perfect tool for brewing potions. She knows that the skill is not that rare, but she is confident she uses it better than most people. She couldn't help but smile when she remembered how Erica made her take a bunch of money for trips. She even called it chump change to be nice. Alicia understands. Her friend just speaks bluntly but actually has a huge heart, yet her calm thoughts are interrupted exactly. The coachman notices something strange on the road ahead. He pulls the reins and begins to slow down. And his face instantly pales when he realizes what exactly is waiting for them in the middle of the road. Suddenly a voice wildly shouts to the driver, "Get down." And Alicia remains completely confused as the situation suddenly goes awry. Everything falls apart in a moment. The carriage crashes into something solid, and Alicia with the supplies flies everywhere until she tries to understand how it could have happened so quickly. Outside, the guard is already on the spot, and she can't believe someone managed to react so fast to the ending. Alicia presses lower in the carriage, while the guard shouts that hiring him for extra security was definitely the right decision. But then a real threat appears. A huge stone lizard lung bursts out of nowhere and attacks, and the guard rushes straight at the roaring monster to push it away while Alicia hides behind the carriage wall. She realizes they would already be dead if Erica hadn't made her hire professionals, especially when the guard finishes the fight. Although the victory is short-lived, Alicia hears a panic scream ahead of the carriage and peeks out to find out what happened, coming across. The driver looked completely shattered. She asked what had happened, and the man began apologizing incessantly through tears. It turned out the horse was in bad condition. During the monster's attack, its leg was shattered, so it lies in the mud and does not move, leaving the driver helpless. The driver is a complete mess. He breaks down, crying that the horse was his partner and that they were together forever. But that's not all yet, just a little more. Alicia approaches and interrupts his lament. She says, sorry to bother, but asks if she can get some water, and the man is left completely bewildered. Turning back to the city, the assistant branch manager completely loses his temper. He cannot believe what Erica just told him. Erica does not blink, insists that her company is permanently leaving the Bromeia territory. The man is in panic. He babbles that it is too sudden and too demanding, and demands an explanation for why she is doing such nonsense. Instead, she only asks if the reason is not obvious. She looks at the city from above and drops a bomb, throwing out the phrase, "Very soon this whole place will be destroyed." The truth is that this territory remained unsettled, neither thanks to the leadership of Lord nor for any other reason. That was all of Alicia's backstage work. Meanwhile, the driver in the cart is going crazy. Alicia just promised that she will brew a potion now. She pulls out a special healing herb, last one left, after her laboratory burned down, and declares that she will use it. Alicia knows for sure. Such a deep wound usually requires a super high-quality object, otherwise there is almost no chance of healing. See for yourself. Skills are divided into 6 levels depending on how skilled you are. The first is the start, and levels 2 through 4 cover intermediate and advanced levels. But as soon as you reach level 5 or higher, the master class level begins. Only the best of the best reach there. The secret of Alicia's success has finally been revealed. It all comes down to her unique skill. This is what Synthesis X really is. She issues a command to start the process, and then the story makes a sharp rollback to the ruins of the Bromeia lands, where monsters once swarmed. It turned out that Alicia kept everyone safe alone. She made a special monster protection potion repellent. This is what made her the owner of a one-of-a-kind skill on the entire continent. Erica is still worried and insists that Alicia does not fully understand how large-scale this is and how dangerous any mistake can become. If the wrong people find out, she herself only thought about the possible consequences, and the thought terrifies her. Again on the road, the driver points his hand toward the horizon and says he sees the city of Torid. As soon as Alicia hears the name, her gaze lights up. A memory of the town standing next to a great forest flashes before her eyes. She starts laughing simply out of joy and tells the driver that she will find so many quality ingredients there. The assistant glances at the potion and honestly is amazed that anyone even dared to open a shop with such low skills. And even worse, for some reason they have completely run out of ingredients. As soon as the bottle with the potion hits the floor and shatters into pieces, Alicia panics. The assistant adjusts his glasses and with a self-satisfied expression tells her that dealing with potions in a city like Torid is no joke. It's much more complicated than she imagines, so he bombards her with questions. Does she even understand what kind of trouble she's getting into? Meanwhile in the field, the blonde adventurer from the Red Eagle party finishes off a monster and decides it's time to retreat. She explains to her team that they are finally returning to the city of Torid. But as soon as he realizes this, everything rapidly falls into an abyss. They are already surrounded by more monsters than can be counted. He slams on the brakes, shouting that he urgently needs to find a monster repellent potion that actually works. While they enter the city, people are already gossiping. Someone can brew a potion that instantly heals even deep wounds. The coachman looks at Alicia with respect and kindly asks if she has any crazy high-level skills. Alicia keeps twitching nervously, waving her hands, and admits that honestly she is just a potion researcher. The man shifts his gaze to the bottle and sees. It's only a rank 3 potion, and with normal effects at that, so Alicia has to admit that it is rather weak. She thinks to herself, without her real tools or magical water, all she can do is what can't even fix a broken bone. She decides that first she needs to leave and buy at least decent supplies, but the driver interrupts her. Holding a bag in his hands, he tells her, although it's a small reward, he really asks her to take it. Then he explains that it is a magical tool that will definitely come in handy, and this confuses Alicia, because she hadn't even guessed it was special. While he shows how concealment magic is woven into the bag, he pulls out far more items than could possibly fit inside. He says that it's not just about holding a ton, the thing also makes everything inside light for the one carrying it. She, however, breaks down into hysteria even more at these words, saying she can't accept something so useful. Alicia tries to hand the magical bag back, but the driver doesn't hear her words. He insists that she saved both his horse and his life, and the potion she gave him is worth much more than she thinks. Then he decides that this is still not enough. So he pulls out a city map and a list of the best places to stay, and his horse carefully holds the map so that Alicia will definitely take it. Alicia stands by the roadside already with new equipment and watches, as the cart finally rattles and drives away into the distance. She is still a bit stunned. It's strange that guy got so excited over an ordinary rank 3 potion. And she is unsettled by the feeling that the driver was overly kind to her. She shakes off her doubts, glides her gaze over the map, and vows she will take the chance, so she moves on. A little later, she finds a path to a dark, cluttered shop, where a creepy lady almost meets her from behind the counter. The old woman asks what exactly she is looking for, and Alicia stares into the strange sensations clinging to this place. Looking around the shelves, Alicia actually freezes at the variety of potions. Here are jars with strange hands, and professional mortars and pestles. The shopkeeper tells her to check the back shelf if she needs these tools, and Alicia heads there, starting her shopping. Alicia suddenly stops, freezes in place, and shifts her gaze to the shelf until it dawns on her. She is trapped. She tries to pull herself together, tells herself that the money Erica gave her is not eternal, so she must think carefully while the shopkeeper watches her from the darkness like a hawk. Right in front of her are the legendary adamantine mortar and pestle, but the price tag is a complete nightmare, almost 10 million. She lights up just at the thought because she knows adamantite are the strongest material in the whole world. And with such a tool, she could handle any dangerous substance without any reason to worry. The old shopkeeper catches her keen gaze and asks if she really intends to buy it, and Alicia reaches up to grab the heavy bowl. She is breaking out in a sweat. She is running through in her head how much she really needs this, although the price is just a bad joke that she simply cannot afford. Then the old lady drops another bomb, asks if Alicia can handle it if she lowers the price all the way down to 100,000. Alicia completely loses control, looks at the woman in total shock, and asks if she is even real or if this is all real. The shopkeeper just laughs and tells her to take it. Supposedly, for a child with her level of synthesis skill, such a discount is a deserved price. The seller calls Alicia and sharply says, "It is extremely bad manners to evaluate things by skill without asking for permission." Barely does the lady warn her that a talent like Synthesis X is a magnet for trouble, when Alicia immediately starts to panic. The old woman advises her to relax. She keeps the secret to herself, does not want eccentric crowds gathering around her stall. Alicia is stunned. Someone saw through her magical bracelet, which was supposed to lower her rank, as if it were much smaller than it really is. The shopkeeper only smiles slyly and says that it is extremely rare to see a customer who truly enjoys a place like this. She tells Alicia she just felt that giving her this deal was the right move. The woman waves after her, shouts for her to come back quickly for another discount, and Alicia is already heading away, deep in thought. If she just has a lucky day. She thinks about how her path has already started so well and that Erica is definitely worrying too much. She remembers how her friend called her a hopeless fool, someone who trusts people too much. Alicia is convinced the world is simply overflowing with kind people. Now she just needs to find the materials she needs for work. Alicia feels quite well and is already figuring out which spells to start with. But the next moment she crashes straight into a man walking towards her and knocks him down completely unexpectedly. She immediately feels very bad, so she starts apologizing hurriedly and explains that she was just lost in her own thoughts. And this guy behaves incredibly kindly, waves his hand, brushes it off, and says that it all happened because of him. When Alicia walks away, the guy's face changes strikingly. He looks at the money bag he just picked up and bursts out laughing as if it wasn't someone who stole her, but he himself, because she turned out to be too easy a prey. A little later, Alicia reaches her motel and starts rummaging through her pockets and belongings, trying to understand where her luggage went. Panic spreads like a wave. She empties everything out of her bag in a whirlwind and realizes the wallet is gone, definitely gone. She rushes back quickly and searches everywhere she managed to visit, from the bakery to the city guards, but no one saw her, and this overwhelms her completely. When reality finally sinks in, it only gets worse. The money really disappeared irretrievably, with no chance of return. She sits, clutches her thoughts in her palms, and feels like a complete fool until finally it dawns on her. Erica was right, the world is not made up only of nice people. Alicia is sitting on the floor and realizes the wallet definitely did not disappear by itself. Someone caught her pocket. It was a pickpocket. She is upset that she did not put it in her bag after buying snacks. And right then, a girl from the inn-yard runs out to meet her to check how she is. She sees that Alicia looks completely exhausted and asks if she is all right. That Alicia is surprised because she recognizes her immediately. The lady casts one glance at her, and this immediately reveals everything. Asks if Alicia ultimately lost her wallet. Since it is already late, the woman makes her an offer. She says, if Alicia helps with the dishes, she can stay overnight while she works. Alicia began to cry as she thanked her. She felt incredibly relieved as soon as she understood that, even if she was robbed, not everyone there is a bad person. The sun sets and the end quietly lies under the stars. Everyone is already settling in their places. But inside room 203, everything still looks extremely bad. Alicia is just lying on the bed in the dark, looking at the ceiling and thinking about how to move forward when she has no money. Alicia is officially broke, and that little pickpocket has already been celebrating somewhere far away since morning, having taken the stolen bag of coins. She thinks about a potion to make money quickly, but immediately feels the hard truth. She doesn't even have starting money to buy the ingredients. Alicia rummages through her things and ultimately finds a cooking set in the bag, the only thing she has left. Fortunately, the town stands right on the edge of a huge forest, which they say teems with rare materials. Since she can't buy anything, Alicia decides, then she will have to go out and gather supplies herself. She sets off and finds herself right in front of the local Travelers Guild, the best place to start. As soon as Alicia steps over the threshold, she immediately feels like she is out of her league. The room literally compresses itself, and around her are incredibly large and frightening-looking adventurers. These guys are almost pros. They take on everything from hunting monsters to collecting items out of nowhere. And the guild is a hub that assigns them tasks and keeps everything in working order. Alicia recalls the landlord's words. The guild provides its members with a lot of useful information, so she is sure this is her best chance. Alicia is sure registration will be an easy walk and a great opportunity to find a place where magical plants grow. She approaches the counter, and the receptionist greets her with a smile. The girl behind the desk winks and asks how exactly she can help her today. Alicia replies that she wants to sign up as an adventurer, so the receptionist asks if she came specifically for registration. Suddenly, everything changes. The receptionist catches her gaze, drops all joking tones, and asks what Alicia's true motivation for joining is. Alicia says that she wants to learn where in the dense forest magical plants grow, and this makes the receptionist realize she is looking for where to gather supplies. The secretary begins to think to herself, technically anyone can join, but she will probably have to go through a short interview. Alicia looks way too nervous. Later it turns out, the guild has been overwhelmed by a real influx of children who rush there just to be closer to the S-rank party. Red Eagle for them, those guys are almost like idols. The reception manager flies right into her face and growls. The guild is already tired because people take jobs with such a half-hearted attitude. She sharply slams her palm on the table and shouts that anyone who is not serious about working will be kicked out. Flipping through a huge book, she warns Alicia, even a simple job gathering plants can turn out to be quite dangerous. The reception manager picks up a map marked with all the magical plants and asks Alicia to look at it carefully because even the fireweed herbs growing right near the city are not safe. It turns out that killer bee nests are scattered all over the area. She explains that one bee itself is not such a big problem. The real trouble is that there are too many of them, and their poison is incredibly strong. Because of this danger, most travelers keep their distance, and that is exactly why the price of fire grass has skyrocketed. Alicia immediately understands. Her plan to just gather plants turns out to be much more intense than she had imagined. Suddenly, Alicia has an expression of insight, and she asks if the guild really also buys those magical plants from adventurers. The reception manager is completely baffled. She cannot believe that Alicia took on just one single detail. Alicia replies, yes, and also together with parts of monsters, ores, and almost any materials that can be found. A spark flashed in Alicia's eyes. She is sure that she has just received one of the best pieces of advice of all time. She immediately dives into the map, and asks the concierge to show exactly where near the entrance to the forest the entire plant world is gathered. The receptionist glances at Alicia studying the map and honestly says she has plenty of doubts. But he can't stand it and asks directly, did Alicia really intend to go out there alone and gather flame grass? She tries to stop her with words about how killer bees are no joke and that they are really dangerous monsters, especially considering that their poison is incredibly strong. But Alicia just places her hand on the counter and calmly cuts that everything will be fine with her. She gives a confident, barely noticeable smile and concludes, everything will definitely be resolved and that. She leaves the poor woman completely burned out from stress and she still cannot believe that Alicia remains so composed. Alicia explains, at first she just wanted to sell potions, but she was afraid she would never find a buyer, so now she just needs to know the procedure. She starts signing documents and thinks that this is the best way to get back the money she spent to start. For now. When the receptionist hands her a new adventurer's card, she asks to complete the rest of the papers. Alicia finally reaches the edge of the forest. She stands before a giant tree and realizes she is really here. Alicia looks up at the giant trees and thinks, could this really be the great forest of forests? And it is creepy here, strange sounds echo around and old bones are everywhere. The worst is the sign near the entrance. It says that the guild bears no responsibility for what happened. She is definitely trembling, but still tries to stay positive and tells herself that everything will be fine. Alicia focuses on training. She knows that the research she conducted was incredibly detailed, so that means she memorized every tiny detail about these forests and finally returned to the city. All the locals say they need to thank the people who did the hard work investigating this area. They watch as the Red Eagle party squad passes by. Everyone stops and stares, as if the guys just returned from the Great Forest. One guy catches himself thinking, maybe he is going the wrong way and is just heading to the guild to submit his report. But somewhere wild things are already happening. In the workshop of Skrull Trading Company, Erica was just shocked by the news, and she shouts that Alicia was exiled. Erica is not joking. She directly tells everyone that she will move the entire operation to another branch as soon as the right time comes. Standing in the middle of the laboratory, she makes it clear what she wants. Every craftsman must start preparing for the transition. And the news hits the team hard. One of the young ones mumbles that Alicia just disappeared without even saying goodbye. While the chief masters of Skrull Trading Company are practically falling apart, they cannot believe what happened to Alicia. The big man asks what will happen to the Bromeia territory next, and the older man standing nearby furiously starts cursing the stupid lord. Without Alicia, they are in deep trouble even with all their fancy equipment and mana water. More than that, they can only make a rank 2 monster repellent. And everyone understands this, that will not be enough. Over time, they will no longer be able to keep the monsters inside the borders under control. Erica approaches closer and tells them directly that is exactly why they are fleeing the domain. She knows they cannot stay here. And she leaves no doubt. Safety is their top priority if they even plan to return later and save this place. The whole hall freezes looking at her with full respect. Everyone is aware of the plan and ready to follow her anywhere. Erica orders the crew to move as soon as they understand the plan and everyone shouts back yes in agreement. And the senior master cannot stop. He mumbles how that idiot lord ruined everything by driving Alicia away. He will definitely regret letting her slip away and Erica knows it. She stands nearby with a self-satisfied expression as if she has everything under control. She believes, with Alicia's talent, the girl is probably already somewhere free and right now is arranging a permit to sell her own potions. Returning to the forests, Alicia sees the ground under her feet covered with dewdrop small plants she needs for her work. And she continues to work there for hours, wiping sweat from her forehead and gathering everything together at a steady, uninterrupted pace. She finds many mushrooms that spit out fog near old logs and keeps her focus on the tasks at hand. The real reward of the day is flame grass, because the guild has recently been paying a lot of money for it. But the trouble is that right where the grass grows, there is a fresh wasp nest. Giant bees everywhere, and they have turned this area into a complete death trap. To deal with this, she needs a good portion of monster repellent potion even before she thinks about approaching. She sits down to check the loot and realizes, although she is far from home, all the plants are exactly where the old data said they would be. Alicia checks the map and calculates the route. Everything will be fine if she stays away from places where monsters usually dwell. But suddenly a plant appears nearby and she has a thought that it is easy to pick. It is a patch of healing herb, exactly what she needs. Alicia realizes the grass is not meant for repellent, but she still decides to take some along the way. For some time she quietly hums to herself and fusses back and forth, gathering everything that catches her eye. Finally she finds what she was looking for, Yorazu grass right in front of her. And she is all smiles, now she can finally make monster repellent, but just then she hears a strange sound. In the clearing in her field of vision, a small goblin stands carelessly and shakes the noise as if a fuse had blown. Alicia notices him from behind the trees. Her heart almost stops. She is looking directly at the monster and immediately loses her composure from fear. She hides her face, realizing she has made a mistake. She got so lost in her plants that she simply wandered into a dangerous zone. Alicia looks at the tiny creature and involuntarily thinks, even if this is a child, she definitely cannot take it with her. The goblin is just playing with a butterfly, and Alicia lies flat on the ground quietly whispering to herself, she is just a piece of grass. When the danger subsides, she raises her gaze to the mountains and admits, that was too scary. But despite everything, she is still shaken. She lies on the ground trembling, honestly believing that this place will be her end. Alicia quickly recovers and feels pride. Her research turned out to be so accurate that she was able to literally play the plant. When the first panic passes, she gets a second wind and she understands. Finally, she has everything she needs, so she. A focused expression appears on her face and she firmly decides. Finally, it's time to start mixing the ingredients. She knows creating a top-tier potion usually comes down to 4 key things. Everything depends on the quality of magical plants and water, how properly you prepared everything, and what your actual level of skill is. Even with crazy X skill, she still knows. She won't see high results until every single one of those points is covered. Alicia starts working and glances. How you process the plants is just as important as how you find them. She begins by washing the leaves she gathered and carefully ensures they are clean before moving on to tearing them into small pieces by hand one by one, directly into her bowl until all go there. Only then does she realize, to extract the true components, you need to grind everything in a mortar with a pestle. Hearing the plant being crushed by weight, she is overwhelmed by a wave of nostalgia. I remember how it all began. When she first started dealing with the trading company, she invested all her money in fashionable magical tools. A long time has passed, yet she has never had to prepare like this from start to finish, all by hand. But in fact, she even likes it. She smiles to herself while working on the ingredient. Next, she needs to extract the bag with water from the mushroom, and here a hitch occurs. She completely forgot to bring any cutting tools. So she has to manage with a sharp stone, and she laughs at herself for forgetting such a basic thing as a knife. Alicia throws everything she has into the glass vial and calls out as soon as the synthesis begins. And it works. She holds the finished product and exclaims that it is finally all over. This level 3 monster repellents. But looking closer, Alicia realizes, this is only plate rank. She suspects that it was the preparation of the mushrooms that ruined everything. And while she looks at the nearby stream, another anxiety gnaws at her chest. The guild information said that the water here is clean enough for people to drink, but it hardly helps her because, to get the quality she truly wants, she will need real magical water from somewhere outside. She stared at the bottle, still a bit depressed. She couldn't push it beyond plate rank. And now she can only hope that this batch will be good enough for what she needs. The forest becomes much more dangerous as soon as a swarm of giant hornets buzzes around a huge nest. Leaving Alicia hiding in the bushes, she trembles with fear while watching the deadly wasps patrol the territory. Alicia hides in the bushes and intently watches the giant wasps. A thought flashes in her mind. Forget about the poison, a sting of such size would probably kill her instantly. She lowers her gaze to her bottle and whispers to herself, she doesn't have to swallow it. Usually just popping the cork and holding the bottle is enough, that's enough for it to work. But she is afraid to stumble and drop the bottle. She immediately changes the plan, safer to smear it on the skin and move forward slowly step by step. She firmly holds the bottle straight without haste and carefully pulls out the cork. Suddenly giant hornets buzz madly in the air. Alicia freezes in shock and just watches as they swarm wildly around. Meanwhile, a wave of permitted voices rolled through the guild while Somyeon was shouting frantically that everything was sold out again. The receptionist tries to calm down the blonde adventurer and the Red Eagle squad, explaining, Skrull Company holds a monopoly on the monster antidote, so it is always in short supply. She adds that the recipe is a complete secret. It cannot be obtained from any other sources except the company itself. The blonde adventurer grumbles that in such a business no one will talk or cooperate, and his friend just shrugs. Supposedly, that's how it should be, hiding technologies like magic. While the group was leaving, the boy shouted after them. At least the receptionist was cute, and his friends were just trailing behind and looked tired. The man with a bandage from Red Eagle Party was bewilderedly wondering why his friends were lingering so long in conversations after all. They could have just gone home immediately after finishing their report. While the whole company gathered around the guild building, Alicia calmly walks past them and still manages to attract attention as she heads away. The guy with the headband is completely out of sorts. He asks his buddies if they have seen her and grumbles that she is really very cute. The man in glasses just pushes them higher and dryly says that he has never seen her in this area. The young man with the headband tries to call out to Org, their party leader, but he has already halfway crossed the road. The dude waves his hand and says, Org is too stoic, but that is expected from a giant who defeated an ancient dragon. Org keeps walking while several local girls look at him languidly, and he only thinks that everyone has something that takes a week or two off. Meanwhile, in the local shop, a huge pile of rare herbs was dumped on the counter and the staff froze for a moment, as if lost for words. The female official trembles, looks at the pile, and asks if this is really a huge stash of fire grass. The shopkeeper still looks at the goods distrustfully and asks again if it is genuine, so Alicia just stands still and confirms, this is genuine merchandise. The shopkeeper manager finishes checking the herbs and declares to everyone that they are definitely real, and the assistant just loses it from this. The girl panics and rushes to Alicia. How did she even get these things? Especially since that place, according to rumors, is swarming with deadly bees. Alicia just orders everyone to shut up and sit quietly while the shop staff stands nearby in complete stupor. Then she pulls out a bottle and explains. As an apothecary, she quickly made a monster protection remedy for the road. The manager and assistant stared at the bottle as if it were a ghost before them. Alicia thinks she wasn't 100% sure whether it would work or not in such a high-class place, but she was simply pleased that it did, and because of this, the entire staff froze without a word. Then the two of them lean over the counter and shout right in her face, asking if she really made that monster repellent with her own hands. They don't believe it because it's a top-secret item, only the Scholar Guild should know how to make it. Alicia begins to tremble from tension as everything finally sinks in. She probably said too much and then. She remembers it was actually she who allowed the Scholar Guild to take all the credit for inventing it. Alicia recalls how she once made a monster repellent not to scare anyone, but to focus on her own research. But Erica is already going crazy, squeezing the bottle in her hands and whispering the recipe as if those words could hold her together. Such a taste allows taking as much as you want, and she must keep it a secret. Erica cannot believe that Alicia turned out not to be aiming to make a lot of money through negotiations, but chose research instead. Alicia starts trembling from sweat and thinks, as long as no one guesses what she really did, everything will be fine. She tries to steer the conversation in another direction, addressing the shop employees and saying that she simply loves the Scholar Guild's potions, and also that she learned to brew her own. The manager and his assistant froze. They just encountered a true genius of alchemy. The manager looks too focused and asks if he can examine this potion right now, and immediately adds, if everything is really as she says, he wants her to sell everything in his shop. At first, Alicia waved it off, saying she didn't care but stopped mid-sentence and closed the deal because now she clearly understands. Before, she let Erica carry everything on her own while she hid in the laboratory, but from now on, she decided to lead her own life. Alicia steps forward and tells them that she will conduct the negotiations herself and everything will be decided only by the price they offer. Secretly, she is a little worried. Hardly anyone will pay much for this since it is just a low-rank item. The shop employees begin to tremble with shock, and Alicia immediately realizes what she created is real, or more precisely. The manager starts shouting, explaining that this is monster repellent level 3, which is why it worked so well against those killer bees. His assistant also loses composure. She states that today is the first time she has ever seen something level 2 or higher. She quickly pulls out a reference book, checks and confirms, definitely level 3 elite class. Just a glance at the price guidebook, and she cannot believe how much they usually ask for such a handful of poison. Alicia hits her head against the counter with all her might in complete shock. She asks if it really costs that much, and the assistant explains, the demand is insane. It turns out that even pro-adventurers, who hunt monsters all their lives, hold on to this thing to stay alive because. The assistant adds, many hunters die from random beasts when exhausted after a big raid, they drag themselves home. The saleswoman can no longer hold back. She declares that if they have this tincture, those terrible accidents will finally stop happening. The manager looks no less desperate, almost pleading Alicia to sell him this batch right now. Alicia sharply flies back in memory to her father's angry voice, who called her a failure and insisted that she was just playing with a pharmacy skill that no one needed. She is not quite sure that this is the right path for a professional business deal, but as soon as she sees how important it is to them, her opinion changes. If her potion can really help people and bring benefits. So she says, actually, it is her who should be begged to take this stock away from her. The manager and the assistant literally shine with sincere joy as soon as she says this. They both jump up and shout aloud, thank you, one that could be heard almost at the other end of the street. Later, Alicia walks through the city and still breathes a little easier even if there is not enough money to fully compensate for the stolen wallet. She concludes the money earned from selling flame grass should at least keep their stop from hunger and cover basic living expenses for at least some time. Alicia clenches her fist. A new hope stirs hotly in her chest. She has finally found a buyer for her potions. And now it seems to her that she can manage on her own for some time with the money she earns. She stands in the middle of a busy street with her hand raised, a strange moment that makes her realize more clearly how truly lonely it is to be alone, especially at such a moment. Looking at the quiet forest at night, she thinks that there is someone nearby to talk to, and that would really calm her down while she. Darkness, a giant creature with burning eyes swims through the water, but not yet, not now. Alicia focuses on the task, wipes her forehead and prays that the batch of potions she just made is finally suitable. It has been 10 days since she first arrived in the city of Torid. She heads to the reception desk to pay for the room and even gives the lady a potion as an extra thank you. And that woman only smiles at the end, clears the countertop, and tells Alicia that she really appreciates the help as always. Lately, everything has been too difficult, but Alicia felt her life is finally starting to even out. As soon as she enters the guild, the receptionist asks if she has come again today. Alicia simply nods and answers, yes, while thinking about her next target, she knew one thing. The guild was currently busy trying to raise money to finally renovate their place. In the guild hall, some chulaka notices a person near the door and lowering his voice whispers to his own, he is here. And everyone immediately switches to whispering, as if the famous green-haired underground potion seller has finally appeared. Tension rises, one traveler whispers to the boy next to him not to cut in line, but the other one tells him the same, and from the crowd, an amazingly strong pressure suddenly falls on Alicia. She runs to the counter where the saleswoman nods and says, hello, asks if she still has potions for sale and then says goodbye. Before Alicia can respond, the assistant grabs a loudspeaker and announces that the new goods are already ready. The whole room explodes with a wild uproar. Adventurers raise a shout, having returned from quests, and beg her to sell them potions right now. The saleswoman assures that Alicia is still at the peak of popularity. Alicia nods and agrees but secretly thinks, this whole scene is way too frightening. It turned out that the standard rank 2 repellents from the trading company simply could not withstand the creatures in the Great Forest. Those high-grade things that Alicia made were not even put up for public sale. They were really kept specifically for territory defense. Because of this, a special repellent is a thing that exists only within Bromeia, This was the part of the agreement where Alicia shared her recipe, so that the trading company Skrull could distribute it across the land. Most of the potions people find on the market are ordinary versions, brewed by guild masters using the same recipe. Alicia stops and involuntarily thinks, how crazy it is that there is such a huge demand for her work even far beyond her native territory. Behind her, the crowd goes wild as soon as they hear. Everything is already sold out, but the assistant still ignores the noise and checks on Alicia. She asks Alicia what her plans are for the rest of the day, now that business at the counter has long ended. Alicia says she is thinking of visiting Spirit Spring, once saw it on the forest map. The saleswoman asks Alicia if she is going out to gather magical plants, and offers to just give her the ingredients if they might be needed. Malaysia is more concerned about Spirit Spring itself, and asks the girl if the water there is really filled with magical power. The assistant confirms, yes, exactly that, but still admits that the quality of magic in that same water is no different, which leads to Alicia explains her idea and says she was thinking about how that water could become the perfect base for brewing new spells. Then she explains that magical water is one of the most important ingredients when it comes to creating elite items. Because, since the water itself is saturated with energy, any potion brewed with it is many times more powerful than one made with ordinary water. Alicia accelerates in her thoughts and catches the excitement. She will improve the quality of her products and the money for the trip will be collected in minutes. She also thinks ahead. When they finally have a proper laboratory base, they will be able to start producing monster-repelling agents not only for themselves, but for the entire region. The saleswoman assures her that Spirit Spring is surprisingly calm, so safe that local children even go there on gathering quests to test their own bravery. So since it is very close to the city and not too dangerous, the plan really seems smart, but the assistant freezes for a moment, as if there is something Alicia should know. The saleswoman says there are rather strange rumors about the spring, and the sun breaks through the quiet trees just as the journey begins. Alicia realizes that a minute has already passed since she got here. While walking through the forest, she decides to immediately gather some materials. She stops to look at a leaf, but her thoughts still do not let her go. How suspicious those rumors sounded. The story about the Spring of Spirits weighs on her mind. The name already starts to evoke anxiety because the assistant just told her that some travelers supposedly saw a huge dragon's head emerging from the water. Since this observation appeared, rumors have spread throughout the city as if real spirits have settled in this area. The girl in the shop just smiled and waved her hand, saying it's just rumors, but Alicia does not feel a drop of such calm. She is racking her brains. Could it be that they mistake the dangerous dragon monster for a spirit? And she decides right then, if things look even a little risky, she will turn around and immediately go back. Alicia finally reaches the lake and freezes for a moment. Before her is a colossal view. And control begins to slip from her hands because of all the rare magical plants growing along the shore. Her eyes literally sparkle because she has to remind herself to stay focused. She repeats, the main thing is spring water, but then a sudden scream from a nearby place tears her from her thoughts. Someone is shouting in pain and Alicia turns to see. A group of people is making a scene. She hides behind a tree to get a better look and someone shouts for everyone to stop immediately. And suddenly it becomes obvious. A bunch of kids on the ground are kicking a small turtle, and it, as if really responds, asks if they even know who she is. Alicia silently watches all this chaos, unable to understand what exactly they are trying to show her right now. The most amazing thing is that the turtle speaks human language. She freezes in place and tries to understand how this could have happened at all. One of the boys just laughs at the spectacle. He orders the turtle to hit back if she doesn't like being kicked. And the other boy chimes in, declares he is not afraid, and adds something with a scream to make it funnier. After that, they continue to torment the poor creature right on the sand. The angry boy does not stop shouting at the poor creature. Just hide in your shell and sit quietly like a normal turtle should, making. Alicia is visible from the side while the boys continuously bully. She does not understand why they even need this turtle. But the turtle actually notices her and calls out, says that Alicia appeared just in time and begs only asked for help. So Alicia is caught watching and she lets out a nervous sound until one of the boys sharply turns around and shouts, demands that she say who she is. The boy immediately flares up with aggression, shouts that this is their territory and that she has no place here, and then he even throws a stone at her and snarls for her to get away. Alicia immediately understands. In front of her are a bunch of naughty, rude children. She thinks to herself, now she definitely needs to save the turtle, so she steps forward and tells the boys to stop. But instead, she starts giving them a whole lecture breaking down how much harm is caused to living creatures, destroying the forest ecosystem and ruining healing herbs. One child just looks confused, while the rest start mocking her as if it's immediately clear to them that they were not going to listen to any boring lecture. And Alicia whispered to herself and suddenly realized, a single verbal warning will never be enough to make them stop. Since the boys do not listen to advice, Alicia decides she will have to apply a little force. With a confident look, she takes out several specific leaves from her bag. And the children are not stopped by this at all. They mock her because she is just holding some grass and claim that they are not afraid. The main hooligan orders her to get lost and throws Weed Woman at her, and these words get under Alicia's skin. She begins rubbing the leaves together and explains that this plant is actually called stinkweed. It is a magical plant from which potions are brewed, outwardly ordinary grass, but it has its own secret. She continuously shakes and rubs the leaves, and as soon as its smell attacks the children like a dark cloud, they immediately start choking and greedily gasping for air. The boys lose self-control, shout that the smell is unbearable, and it seems to them, from this stinking nightmare they will faint soon. Alicia just stands still, holds herself as if nothing happened, and says that she is used to this smell, although probably it is too strong for them. The children finally break away and run at full speed, shouting that she will regret it, while they disappear into the forest. The turtle almost faints from the smell and asks what kind of stench this is. Alicia just looks, thinking, it's nice to know that stinkweed works even on turtles. Toitli feels a little nauseous still and says he is not sure whether to thank her for the rescue or not, and asks the human girl what her name is. Alicia keeps it simple. She says her name Alicia, and the little boy meanwhile tries to pull himself together. He tells her that now that he knows her name, he will give her a real thank you, but it turns out he is actually the spirit guardian of the lake who. Alicia throws him accurate surprises again and again. She asks if he is really a spirit, and the turtle just nods and confirms, yes, he is a spirit. Alicia says that now everything is clear. He really is a spirit, and that is why he manages to speak human language so confidently. But she still has a question. She asked how the spirit ended up under bullying fire from a bunch of kids, since she would have. There is always an impression as if spirits are incredible beings with boundless mana. The turtle looks very depressed while listening to her. He sighs and says that the situation is too complicated, and he begins to tell what exactly went wrong. His gaze stares into the distance, and he says that it all started just a few days ago. The turtle begins his story with a nice day. Then he was lying on his back and, as always, warming himself in the sun. But until a few local boys appeared on the horizon and they swarm around him. The children are surprised. What is the story with this turtle, especially considering that he is holding something strange? He really looks destroyed when he explains, those boys took his treasure. And it is not just some stone or crystal that he forged from his magic, and they just took it and threw it away. So everything spun out of control, turning into a complete nightmare. Alicia quickly realized, without his magic the poor guy is almost a motionless target and he has nothing to defend himself with. Alicia does not hold back and asks directly, why does he even turn his magic into a crystal? It is too big a risk, especially when someone sooner or later can steal it. And the turtle tells her, he really has no choice. Every time he comes out of the water without control, his power attracts too much attention. And he lets her understand, his true form is completely different, not that tiny little body. In memories, the lake reveals a huge shadow, a solid monster. He admits that once, unintentionally, he released his head from the spring and everything ended very badly. He scared the boy so much that he almost fell backward. Alicia twists her face into a strange expression when the dots finally come together into one picture. She says that this story sounds incredibly familiar and only then realizes this is the very monster everyone was talking about. While they sit by the water, Alicia offers a simple solution. She asks why they just don't go and find the orb after all. The children just threw it back into the spring. The turtle spirit sadly tells Alicia that he himself cannot get it. Alicia looks completely confused and asks why, but he explains the treasure is stuck deep in the cracks between the stones, stuck fast, as if it clung seriously. And then he asks Alicia if she agrees to go down there and get it for him. She is in complete shock at such a request. And she has to honestly admit she really does not know how to swim well. She is overwhelmed with anxiety. But the turtle does not give up. He swears by the spirit's names that he will do it not in vain for her, and at the same time promises that he will give her all that incredible magical water as much as she desires. Rumors about a reward of that level change everything, and Alicia resists with her gaze, her face serious. She tells him, just consider this a twist of fate and leave everything to it. And she begins to rummage in the nearest bushes. She says that first she needs to brew a potion, and the turtle remains in complete astonishment. He asks what she is even talking about and tries to hurry her up, asks her to stop chatting and just jump into the water. Alicia ignores him. She knows everything will be fine as long as she manages to finish the potion. Alicia asks the turtle spirit directly, how deep is this treasure hidden? And the little one just clucks, saying it's not that deep at all. And he explains, the spot is only about 10 alleys high, stacked one on top of another. Completely losing her temper, Alicia tells him to stop applying turtle standards to a normal person like her. She adds since that's the case, he'll have to wait a bit, because she needs to start preparations so they can actually dive underwater. Alicia immediately gets to work and quickly scans around studying Sarah and grass nearby, and finds some balloon grass to add to it. Collection, the turtle spirit watches closely as she gathers plants and asks what she is even thinking doing with a bunch of weeds. Then Alicia tells him that she will combine everything, brew a potion that will allow her to move underwater without problems. When she starts mixing herbs, the turtle spirit just stands there confused and doesn't understand what compounding even is. Alicia begins the process, finally cutting the gathered saran grass and carefully watching to ensure the leaves separate from the roots, neatly not once touching or tearing the air sacs on the balloon grass. And the turtle spirit, it turns out, is truly impressed. He tells her that she has exceptionally skillful hands. Alicia just nods and replies that this is almost all she has ever done in her life. So she holds the jar just as it begins to glow and shouts the synthesis command like. The mixture transforms into an underwater immersion potion III of medium level, a potion that allows a person to move underwater. The turtle spirit says that he had previously tried to test the spring water, and Alicia suddenly realizes she is standing right in it. There used to be a garden here, but now this is their only real chance to use the spirit's water. She asks if there are any monsters hiding in the pond, and the turtle spirit replies, all have already disappeared, because as soon as they try to approach, he blows them to dust, and Alicia understands he is still a powerful spirit. Alicia drinks the potion in one gulp while the turtle spirit grumbles about being hot. Then he commands, lead. And the two dive with all their might into the water, swimming past schools of fish all the way to the very bottom. The turtle spirit looks around and asks what is this strange glowing membrane enveloping her. Alicia explains it's just the effect of a potion. It allows her to move underwater as freely as on land. She adds, at this rank, the effect lasts only about 15 minutes, exactly as long as the spirit says they have finally arrived. They come out to a huge cliff, and the spirit immediately starts to get nervous. How the hell are they going to pull this off? Alicia notices the glowing object inside and sees that it is stuck quite deep. She says she will start pulling it out right now and grabs the stone. Clenching her own strength in a gulp, she pulls from all sides, trying to wrench it from the ground. Watching her struggle, the turtle spirit panics a little and suggests to her maybe it's time to go back up. Alicia tells the spirit to hold on, just a little more and she will try, but it is already clear that time is running out, so they need to switch to something else. She pulls out the adamantite mortar and subtly slides it right under the stone so as to turn it into a lever. One big jerk, she orders herself, then leans her whole body on the mortar with all her might. The stone finally comes loose and Alicia exclaims joyfully, it worked. Meanwhile, the spirit stands silently frozen. Everyone is impressed by her work. Everything changes as soon as Alicia notices. The potion is brewing much faster than it should. They dashed back like a whirlwind and Alicia collapsed to the ground, gasping convulsively. The spirit begins to explain. In its true form, it looks nothing like the little turtle she sees now. He tells how he accidentally nearly killed a person. It was enough just to stick his head out of the water and scare them. It turns out that among travelers, rumors are already spreading. Lately, terrifying dragon heads have been surfacing more and more often. And Alicia realizes at that moment this is the very ice she was looking for. She is sure it is him. Alicia feels inside her right and the right side of her body a wild surge of power rising in waves, as if boiling. Water explodes everywhere. The spirit's energy goes mad from acceleration and pulls everything further. Suddenly he grows to colossal size and, laughing to tears, grabs Alicia, throwing her up into the air. She is glad to have gotten out of the water, but the whole situation has exhausted and unnerved her to the limit. The spirit simply bursts with joy that he has finally returned to his usual state, dangling in the lake, splashing around. He boasts this giant dragon-like form is not a mask, but his true self. Alicia hangs by a thread and, barely holding on, throws out. Maybe his true form is already a bit too much. For now, Org in the forest looks as collected as possible, finishing off the last local threats. A wagon of red eagles rises above a pile of broken monsters and eventually clears the territory. The man in glasses confirms that they got everything from the list, and the rest of the team turns out to be completely exhausted. Above their target hangs a party of red eagle, and the guy in glasses tightens his words and says that it's time for them to return to the city faster. But for now, Org steps forward and with one powerful punch to the face finishes off the monster. After that, when they return to the lake, everything has already calmed down a lot. But now something much more important is brewing. Alicia shakes out her wet clothes and, swallowing her breath, thanks the spirit for pulling her out of the water. The spirit waves it off, saying nothing terrible happened, and instead he is simply happy Alicia helped him regain his true form. Then he looks at Alicia and says that finally the time has come for the reward he promised, forcing her. The stairs are in total shock. As soon as high-grade magic rises, water begins to pour directly into her glass jar. She replies that she doesn't need any special skill at all to understand what she sees. She has already done a bunch. Before she drinks the potion, he notes she has never seen anything of such a high level. The spirit laughs and says he is happy. She likes it. He orders, "Take as much as you can carry while you celebrate your successful find." Alicia excitedly fills her jars with the glowing liquid. But while she celebrates the collection, the spirit dryly asks, is this really all she is going to take? She glances at the small pile of bottles she has already filled and admits she would gladly take more, but officially she has no more containers. Alicia asks if she can come for more water another time, but the spirit seems to already have its own plans. No warning, and he spits a radiant gem right in her face, and Alicia is overwhelmed by total panic as she tries to catch it midair. While she is still trying to understand what just happened, the spirit casually says that he decided to simply go with her. She tells him that she just needs to keep this treasure for him, but Alicia looks too uncertain. Is it even a good idea? The spirit explains its reasoning. If she wants to continue brewing potions, she needs a constant source of magic water. And although Alicia admits that his help would be very appropriate, she still cannot shake the thought. There is a trick here. She looks down at the little one and asks if it is even allowed for a spirit to wander and travel together with a person. But he just brushes it off. He says it's not some fairy tale like a spirit. He senses when someone is truly worthy to follow him. The spirit tells Alicia she has an incredibly pure heart and adds that she would never ask for help if she didn't have the strength for it. While they stand by the water, he admits he himself is simply tired of being alone by the spring, and Alicia finds this quite understandable. Then he explains that in most people the heart gets a little worn out over the years. And then he looks straight at her and says honestly, her condition worries him too much. The spirit asks if she ever really thinks before acting, making Alicia suspect that he is just mocking her. He confirms that he has her on the hook properly and then tells Alicia she needs to choose a name for him. Since they will have to travel together, he declares that it is almost a requirement, so Alicia starts thinking, and he picks it up, holds it high above himself, and asks how the name sounds for a star. The little one is simply delighted. He tells her that the name is wonderful and that he is really into it. Alicia says she is glad he likes his new name, and after that they finally set off together. Alicia makes her way through the forest and puzzles over how to secretly save the spring of the name Rand. It turns out she took it from an old fairy tale. There a turtle terrorized a whole bunch of children. And in the city, some man in glasses leans forward, with an overly serious face, asks his assistant to repeat what he just said. The assistant replies that there is a person with green hair, a potion seller, and recently she has been gaining a real name and reputation at the Adventurers Guild. Then he adds, it seems she even managed to create something called monster repellent, a thing that instantly grabs the man's attention. The man slams his palms on the table, hardly restraining his excitement, calls it wonderful, and orders his assistant to definitely find out who this person is. He begins to say that a talented person like her really needs to direct her abilities for the good of the world and everyone in it by joining his workshop. The assistant looks completely confused, even calls him by the workshop leader's name, Aaron. But Aaron just throws him a suspicious look and jokes that he was actually joking. Suddenly his face darkens and becomes greedy. He admits the real plan is to find these talented people, exhaust them to the bone almost for free, and use them to amass a huge fortune. Outside the large workshop building, the assistant still stands there, hoping that his boss is really just joking, but meanwhile, Alicia looks very tense, clutching a jar. Rend looks up at her and asks if everything is okay, and she replies that it is supposedly not a problem. The new batch of rank 5 healing potions has finally been completed. It shines, and it contains wildly intense energy. Alicia peers intently into the bottle and looks overly tense. She realizes the potion turned out too successful and it works against her. It turns out that the mono water rend is so powerful that it raised the quality by 2 whole levels at once, which means that there remains. Alicia found herself in a difficult situation. She needs to lie low as a rank 4 alchemist, so she cannot just sell rank 5 items, otherwise people will immediately have questions. Rend looks at the bottle, admitting that he still doesn't understand why she is so worried, but then she suggests just dilute the potion with ordinary water to lower the rank, and at this thought Alicia's eyes light up. This is the solution that finally hits her problem. A little later she returns to the inn, but as soon as she reaches the entrance, a voice calls her by name. The place is already crowded with adventurers. The lady behind the counter notices Alicia and asks if she has brought another delivery of potions. Alicia confirms that she has the goods, so the worker immediately calls someone to bring a tray. The woman looks almost shocked. She says she already made a delivery this morning and asks if something happened that requires an additional batch. Alicia tries not to show anxiety and tells the maid that everything is fine since she has already returned so quickly. Then suddenly Rend emerges from Alicia's bag. The maid flinches and pulls her hand back, shouting that there is a turtle here. Alicia instantly covers him with her palm and replies that he is just her pet, while Rend sits and chuckles to himself. Then Rend starts looking around and mutters that this is definitely the famous Adventurers Guild, and he finds his own words funny. Alicia is released, but she is completely confused by the fact that Rend's voice suddenly echoes in her head. While the maid was counting the potion bottles, Rend explains. He uses telepathy and she is the only one who can hear him. He endlessly boasts and insists. As soon as she reaches his level, she will be able to share the same blessings, while Alicia can only give a weak response. She admits she is afraid that she might accidentally say something aloud to him. Rend immediately reassures her that she will get used to it, it's just that. The entrance door is suddenly torn open, you open it with a strike, and a man runs in carrying a wounded comrade shouting, "Anyone with healing magic help." For a second the whole room freezes. Someone manages to notice that these guys are from the famous Red Eagle Party, and tension flares up like a spark. The guild hall is a continuous noise and rumble, and somewhere nearby someone asks if something happened, while Alicia stands still trying to make sense of this chaos. A maid runs out to her with a quick, apologetic phrase, and the guy by the counter just silently watches how everything unfolds. A shadow looms over the wounded man as someone says that the poor guy has completely lost his right arm. The doctor on site looks completely broken, apologizes to everyone, but such an injury cannot be fixed anymore. A shout breaks out from the crowd. They ask if they have already contacted the local healing clinic. One of the travelers sharply waves his hand, saying they have already tried and nothing worked, so they came to the guild. The man in glasses does not give up, presses everyone and insists that while the injury is fresh, there must be a way to save the arm, so he pushes us out. The girl stands nearby and looks completely helpless. She only tells him, even if he wants to help, reality will not change because of it. A desperate scream tears through the silence of the room. Someone begs any healer in this building to step forward and save the boy's hand. The man looks as if he really has nothing left. He throws out one last plea into the air to do something, anything. The girl from the roadside inn looks completely stunned. She just stands, looks around in all directions, and insists that this is simply impossible. Alicia pulls her aside and whispers that she actually knows a way to get rank V healing potion. The girl shouts in shock, but Alicia immediately pulls her and covers her mouth. Everything must be kept quiet until the whole room hears. She explains the one behind the potion hates being noticed, so the source must remain a complete secret. And Alicia makes it perfectly clear. The girl must not tell anyone her name, she should be completely excluded from all conversations. The girl nods and says she understands, then adds, if the hand really disappeared forever in Org, it would be a colossal blow to the guild. Alicia abruptly sets off to work, and Rand calls her so the conversation doesn't end. As soon as she starts grinding herbs in the barrel, Rand asks if the potion can really heal a lost hand. Alicia answers, whether it's magic or potion it doesn't matter, limbs can be restored if the quality is not lower than rank V. She continues grinding in the mortar with the pestle and adds, it only works if you manage to use it before too much time has passed. A young man with chestnut hair thanks the group for their help, but the girl in the hood only cries and keeps saying that she is very sorry. Someone behind is already breaking into a shout they need to move as quickly as possible. Rand explains that he can change his size when he needs to, and thanks to this, it is much easier for Alicia. She looks surprisingly satisfied with how everything is turning out. Alicia picks up the ingredients and activates her synthesis skill, shouting it out as the jar begins to glow. In a moment, she manages to create a rank 5 healing potion with incredible power. She suddenly breaks into a run, orders Rand to stay in place and wait for her right here. She apologizes for the rush, but there is no time to waste if they want to save Org's hand. Alicia finds the girl from the inn holds out the jar to her and says that the potion is finally ready. She does not believe that Alicia managed to do it so quickly. She does not waste a second, grabs the jar and vows to bring it to the party immediately. Alicia stands nearby completely exhausted from the work. While the girl from the inn tears through the crowd shouting for everyone to make way, Alicia watches her with her eyes and feels dizzy. The exhausting work on the potion has completely knocked the ground from under her feet. Thank you very much. The girl reaches the group of adventurers, raises the jar, and announces that she has brought a rank 5 healing potion. The guys who were still sitting on the floor literally lose the power of speech. And then everyone starts feeling dizzy. They bombard her with questions whether it is really rank 5. However, they doubt confidently for someone like her, it is impossible to get something so valuable. One of the guys even insists that it is a fake. But there is no choice, they begin pouring this liquid directly onto the wound. The entire crowd of adventurers and townsfolk goes wild as soon as they see the impossible. Org's hand fully grows back right before their eyes. And everyone goes crazy because he just stands there staring at his hand in complete disbelief, and the girl from the inn behind him sobs with relief. This is a true miracle. Local adventurers swarm the girl and demand to know where she got such a powerful elixir. She nervously makes up a story on the spot, saying a passing merchant gave it to her. And let Alicia watch from the side, not getting caught. She is just glad that they managed to save him. Then Alicia realizes she needs to find Rand and return to the inn. Just as she is about to leave, she hears children's cries nearby. And he sees how local boys and girls grabbed Renda wildly excited. They found a giant turtle right in the city center. They are raising a commotion across the entire square, and Alicia. She just stands still with an empty gaze. As if the same moment is repeating when she first met him, the children begin to talk about how to roast and eat him so. Alicia bursts in immediately and orders to release the turtle while she charges her skill to scare them a little. She is not going to take any risks. And the children break away and completely panic. They scream and run away as fast as they can with all their might. When the tormentors are no longer there, Alicia scoops Flu in and asks if he is okay. The little boy just laughs and waves her off. Everything is fine because she is finally here to take him. When Alicia walks through the noisy city streets, a thought begins to gnaw at her from within. Who is she really after everything that has already happened? And Rend feels no better. He grumbles that human children keep bothering him and increasingly doubts whether he is still a real spirit at all. The little one starts crying and says in a trembling whisper, maybe he should give up and live like an ordinary turtle, not be a spirit. And Alicia is completely stunned by this idea. She sharply objects, it will be complete nonsense. She drops to her knees, catches his gaze, and insists, Lan needs to cheer up because he is truly a special spirit. Rand asks if she really thinks so, and Alicia simply replies, he needs to look at the facts. Org's hand has almost completely healed, and that is thanks to him. She explains that it all happened only thanks to his magical water. Without it, she wouldn't have even been able to brew that high-level bottle of potion for the V-tier heals. And when Rand confidently realizes that he really helped someone, he feels noticeably lighter at heart. He finally sees there is something useful he can do, but then Alicia's expression suddenly changes as soon as she notices something nearby that throws her off balance. One of the surrounding travelers glances at them and asks Alicia if she heard that sound just now. She instantly tenses to the limit and barely manages to answer something while she has to keep up appearances and pretend nothing happened, but this guy is not fooled. He stubbornly insists that he definitely heard that child's voice coming from her side. Org stands over her like a stone mountain and asks Alicia with a heavy gaze if she really just said that she brewed the healing elixir V. And the whole crowd of adventurers nearby is completely confused. They can't believe their ears and wonder if some random girl could produce such a high-level artifact. But then one guy finally comes to his senses. If it really is her, then he definitely needs to thank her for saving his hand. The news quickly spreads down the street, and Lyle, in a moment, immediately finds himself at the center of everyone's attention as if before them stands a legendary figure. And Alicia just sits on the ground, shrinking from the feeling of her own worthlessness. But as soon as a crowd of men appears on the scene, they immediately rush at her. Everyone is shouting for her to sell them one of those potions, and Alicia already looks truly overwhelmed. The guild receptionist, picking up speed to run, flies right into the thick of the crowd and shouts Alicia's name at the top of her lungs. She approaches Alicia closely and demands an explanation. How did she manage to pull out rank V potion if the skill she registered in the guild is only compound IV? Sweat immediately appears on Alicia, and suddenly she understands. Everything is getting out of control much faster than she expected. Panic blooms inside her. Instantly she clearly knows. She must not let these people find out the truth about her real skill, the insanely powerful Compound X. So Rand decides to jump in and save her. He rushes into the crowd, explains to everyone that the potion worked only because he is a spirit, and immediately prepares a special magical water, leaving everyone speechless. The entire group of travelers completely loses their minds. One of them, in wild shock, screams at the top of his lungs. A moan like a broken echo spreads through the street. Everyone bursts into screams and insists that the turtle actually spoke. Alicia disappears into the shadows and replays in her head how exactly she tried to get out of this mess. She declared that the spiritual land is the secret of her potion. But the scene does not drag on. Someone starts banging on her door and shouts for the green-haired potion seller to open. They know Alicia is inside. Alicia stands as if petrified in place, so exhausted that she has no strength left for anything. She realizes everything is going wrong again, and she cannot understand why this keeps happening. While some guy in armor is pounding on the wood, he almost pleadingly asks, "Sell him one of the rank V healing tinctures." Alicia barely opens the door to apologize. She says she supplies the guild directly and advises him to just go and buy the tincture there. But this guy will not swallow that. He shouts back that he will never pay the insane prices the guild names. Alicia just throws him a tired look as if to say, let him even complain to her about the price. She has no control over this. The apothecary guild sets all the prices, and that's why she starts closing the door in his face. The guy in the cat hood keeps shouting and pointing at him, insisting that since Alicia is also a traveler, she should sympathize with him, but he doesn't stop. He begins begging for a professional discount, saying they are in the same field, and Alicia just stands there looking as if she doesn't care. The boy's face twitches, and he becomes aggressive, warning her that if she continues to pressure and stubbornly refuse him, he will have to use force to get what he wants. At that moment, Ren decides he has seen enough and begins transforming into his huge spirit form, so much so that the man involuntarily realizes it. And the rumors about the turtle are actually true. The guy still draws his sword, trying to act boldly, growling that he doesn't care whether it's a spirit or not, and that's it. He starts boasting that he is the strongest man in Torid City, and already pulls out the announcement of his loud nickname, but he doesn't even finish saying it because the blast of wounds hits his face with a massive gust of air, and he flies out right through the door. Eventually, the man falls face down on the cobblestones, and Alicia just looks at him and says, if he finally understood, let him go and buy his things at the guild. While that guy scurries away, Alicia realizes she is reaping what she sowed. After that big scene with the turtle, these annoying characters keep appearing nonstop. And just as she tries to deal with the headache, the landlady appears at the door with a broom and asks if Alicia is okay after all that noise. The old lady with blonde hair watches the doors intently, confused. Just now another adventure man was whisked out of the building soaking wet, and he has just appeared on the threshold. Alicia just stands still with a blank face. She says that the guy tried to grope her, so she gave him a bit of discipline. The hostess starts sweeping again and tells Rand that he is doing well. She even adds that the spirits are actually very strong. Rand just nods and agrees. Alicia thinks to herself, having a spirit nearby is great for self-defense, but there is a serious downside because this Rand attack cracked the floor and spread a huge puddle of water that stretched across the entire floor. Rand immediately starts apologizing for the mess, but the homeowner just waves her hand, saying she will clean everything up right now. She gives Alicia a warm smile and asks her not to worry. Such things are a normal part of working in an inn-yard. Alicia thanks her, but it is already time to go outside. She knows it is time to find a place where she will belong. Then she pulls out a map to orient herself among the streets, and Rand peeks out of her bag and asks where they are really heading. And Alicia does not take her eyes off the map, telling the spirit that they are looking for a real estate agent. Alicia admits she is even scared of the landlady because of the constant drama she has been stirring up lately. Fortunately, she has finally saved enough money to buy her own house and finally move out. Rand tells her to hold the pace and look at the bigger picture. Even if she moves to a new place in the city, the strange adventurers chasing her will not disappear into thin air. Rand hints maybe it's better to go to another city right away. Alicia says she hears him. But right now, she does not plan to leave this city at all. She raises 2 fingers and says to the spirit, there are 2 weighty reasons to stay. The first is that this city, Torid, stands right next to the forest of the forest, so it is the perfect place to gather all the rare magical plants she needs for potion ingredients. Rand asks what the second reason is. Alicia explains. Her whole plan from the very beginning was about making a living selling her potions right here. Alicia gets fired up and shouts that her ultimate goal is to finally have her own shop. She explains those travelers chasing her are actually her loyal customers and losing them would be a pure waste. Ren just says he simply surprised she really thought it all through. Alicia emphasizes that he should not underestimate her while they make their way through the city. And she goes inside the local real estate office, where the staff is already waiting for them. A cheerful agent in a small hat asks her what kind of real estate she is looking for today. She sits at the counter and checks all the details while he prepares and takes notes. Alicia tells him that she needs a very spacious room, and that there should be a decent well nearby. And she adds she needs a place where even a very foul smell will not be a problem at all. At these words, the agent starts sweating and trembling with horror while asking what she actually plans to do there. Then he ran away. He tells her that she sounds like some crazy criminal looking for a place to hide bodies. Alicia explains to the agent. She is a designer, so she needs a huge space where she can work without any distractions and without any worries. The agent wipes sweat from his forehead and says that now he finally understands what she is after. He claims to have exactly the place for her specific needs and starts tearing postcards off the wall, while Ren just sits and thinks that Alicia is completely eccentric. The agent only points to a specific spot on the map, and Alicia thanks him until she studies the papers more carefully. She notices something strange and asks why the price for this place is insanely low, immediately putting the agent in a very awkward position. He explains once a famous alchemist lived here, and all the elite equipment was left behind just as before and still in perfect condition. Alicia does not even hesitate. Stars flash in her eyes, and she shouts that she has already decided she will take this place right now. Rand cuts her off, urging her to calm down, because they still have not heard either a setup or the real reason why this property is being sold for a pittance. Then Alicia asks the agent to be frank with her. Why is it so cheap? And from her tone, he begins to noticeably get nervous. Half bowing forward and wearing a frightened expression, the agent says that the reason is rumors. Allegedly, a real ghost appears inside the house. Alicia looks at the agent without any expression and says that if the only clue is a ghost, then there should be no problems at all. She's going. The man completely breaks down from panic, begs her to wait, and hastily explains that he is just hiring a psychic to first check this place. Alicia does not listen to him and cuts in. There is no need for all this. She is convinced. The fact that it is incomprehensible like a ghost simply does not exist. Therefore, there is nothing to fear next to the property. The agent leads her to a huge old mansion. It is densely overgrown, abandoned, as if frozen in darkness, and against the backdrop of dark trees it rises straight up. Before they step onto the porch, the agent stops and asks if she is really sure she wants to enter. Warning: the agency will not be responsible for what happens next. Alicia just stands still, looking bored, says that there is no problem for her in this, but nevertheless. Rand stands up and asks if she just said that ghosts do not exist, because now they are looking through the window at a pale girl standing right inside the house. It gets even stranger when two terrible children with empty eyes appear in the window. They just stand and stare intently at them. But they still go inside. The agent holds a flashlight and nervously indicates that they have reached the living room. Alicia does not slow down. She points to the bathroom and the agent just stands there. Their hands are trembling with sweat as they enter the closet. He doesn't even notice the ghostly girl following him, and Alicia only says she sees. He acts as if everything is fine. The agent mumbles about the old house and how the whole place reeks of a creepy atmosphere. And then, the sinister laughter of the ghost echoes down the corridor. The agent instantly freezes, and he completely loses his mind and screams at the top of his lungs, his throat burning. While trembling, Ren turns to Alicia and without taking his eyes off her, desperately begs, "Did she also hear that laughter?" Alicia only asks him to calm down and casually says that it was laughter from an empty room. Ren is stunned. She seems not to have moved. Then Ren stops and decides to intervene. He asks Alicia if it wouldn't be better to just leave and leave everything as it is. But she does not accept this and sharply asks what he is even talking about, since they have just stepped over the threshold of this place. They continue to fuss around the house, and the air becomes increasingly thick with creepy giggles, and the portrait begins to laugh at the poor agent. The agent completely loses its traces through the corridors, with eerie ghostly laughter echoing all around. He yells at Alicia, how can she remain so calm when there are clearly spirits here? And even Rand is a bit confused. She notices that she is too calm for a person who claimed that ghosts do not exist at all. Alicia just throws him a glance and says she will explain it to him later, while keeping her focus on. He opened the door all the way to the last room. There was a huge laboratory, and while the agent was turning back, it was shaking like a leaf. Alicia is delighted. She is thrilled with all the equipment, both the mono power mixer, the heating block, and even the material crushing tool. She is bursting with drivel, literally jumping onto the shelves with books when she finds scientific works that have not been published for decades. He remains standing in place, wiping sweat from his face. She turns to him, stars flash in her eyes, and asks if all this wonderful inventory will be hers if she buys the house. He nods as if to say yes. The man tries to maintain a professional appearance and brushes it off as part of the deal, but does not notice the glass flask that is already starting to fly up right behind his back, above his head. As long as he doesn't turn around and see how it is hanging right there, he lets out a loud scream from his chest and almost jumps out of his skin, while Alicia just looks at him. He reacts too sharply and desperately asks if she is serious at all living in this creepy mansion. And she just replies, does he still really care about these ghosts? The agent completely loses his temper, yells at Alicia, and asks how she can remain so calm when all this crazy chaos is happening around. And especially because the room had already turned into a complete paranormal mess. Books and glass chemical flasks were flying in the air and shattering with a clink against the shelves. The boy squeezes his eyelids and lets out another, even louder scream. He simply cannot withstand this pressure. And Alice stands still. irritably muttering that the laboratory equipment looks as if it is still in good enough condition to be used. The agent sharply cuts in. Her gear is definitely not the main problem right now especially. As soon as the laboratory door slammed shut by itself, locking them inside, he panics and fusses, not understanding what they should do. A serious gleam flashes in Alicia's eyes. She realizes that the ghost is strong enough to use psychokinesis and decides it's time to stop it. So when Rand asks if she is okay, she simply gives the little spirit an order. Sit quietly and do not interfere, she will handle the rest herself. But suddenly a creepy voice echoes from the dark corners of the room, demanding that they give something away. And three ghost children appear fully, with jagged teeth and scary smiles, and tell Alicia that she should give up her most valuable thing. The ghost children crowd around Alicia, getting too close, and one of them whispers how nice she smells. They immediately sense her power. They squint and ask if she is hiding a huge amount of magic inside. The spirits finally break free. All together they rush at her, shouting for her to give them all that magic. Alicia does not even blink, firmly says she will not give up her own power, and instead pulls out a small bottle. She splashes them with exorcism tincture, and the ghosts fall into a complete panic frenzy, screaming from the impact. Looking at the bottle, Alicia is noticeably impressed. The very same light laminka she found in the forest she brought to fruition. The mechanism worked exactly as it should. Alicia stands still and happily examines the result, remarking that the effects turned out simply incredible. The agent does not take his eyes off her and still stands as if rooted to the spot. Only shaking his head, he cannot believe she really completed the task with the help of a single potion. She tells him that the little wrath is officially already taken care of, and holds her equipment as if there is nothing special about it. When they leave, he asks if this means that ghosts do not exist at all and everything is just monsters. Alicia confirms. Alicia lays everything out for the agent and explains. What people call paranormal activity is actually the work of monsters like ghosts. And even if he might not be aware of his own line of work, magical researchers know this for sure. So the guy who asks if she is still planning to buy this place. Alicia suddenly flares up and says that she is definitely taking this property. But then Ren notices something outside. He tells Alicia that there is something in the garden and she immediately looks that way. Suddenly a huge spirit emerges from nowhere. The ghost calls her the alchemist's daughter and grabbing her chases after her. But suddenly it all passes as soon as he stops in place. The old spirit thanks her for driving away the monsters and freeing his estate. And he explains, now the house belongs to her. He is interested in nothing else, only that she conscientiously uses the brewing equipment and the heraldic garden. As soon as these words leave his lips, he can finally go to heaven peacefully. He begins to dissolve into the sky and disappears, leaving her alone. Alicia and Rand stand absolutely stunned. They do not utter a sound until the former owner of the house leaves. She finally comes to her senses and apologizes to the realtor with a look as if he is about to bolt the moment he sees another ghost. The realtor is trembling all over and finally admits, ghosts might really exist, and this makes a thought gnaw at Alicia, whether he has just become completely scared. Elsewhere in the region, the Red Eagle party returns to the forests. One of the guys asks a lug if he is really sure that. Immediately they burst into the hunt. They didn't even let anyone rest for a minute. Everyone worries about him, especially considering that a lug is bound to the mission. He says the monster that took his hand is too dangerous to leave him alone. To quickly clear this from the way before anyone else gets hurt, but deep down there is another reason why he desires this so much. And when he thinks about Alicia, he suddenly hits the tree with his fist and whispers to himself to focus on the mission and the partners. It seems, do not catch anything at all. They ask what is wrong with him. And he just stands there and puzzles over how to find the right words, until he is overwhelmed by a huge nosebleed and he begins to lose control. Splashes fly everywhere and he yells at himself, not understanding what the hell is happening to him, while his team just stands and watches. Turning back to the estate, Alicia enters the library. She is trembling at how many reference books are just lying in place, ready to be used. She finds a stash of rare materials for alchemy, eyes and fangs of monsters, and couldn't be happier with her new home. Alicia lifts a pickled specimen and wonders, why hasn't this wonderful property tempted a single buyer? But Rend calmly cuts in. Most normal people don't get excited about admiring dead things in jars. Rend asks directly what Alicia's real plan is, since she already has this place. Meanwhile, Alicia studies old tools. She explains that she wants to open a potion shop, even though it would be much better if it were located somewhere nearby. And her main idea is simple, to build the shop right in Mansion's garden. Ren says she'll have to cut down a mountain of potions to afford the price of a whole new building, so that means. He worries it will take forever, but Alicia brushes it off. No big deal, since she can make as many as she wants. Suddenly, Alicia notices something wrong through a crack in the wood and freezes. She asks Rend if he can help move a heavy shelf out of the way because it seems a hidden space is concealed behind it. A secret room is hiding right behind it. Rend happily helps Alicia. He is clearly delighted and wants to show his spiritual powers. When he starts moving heavy furniture aside, Alicia cannot believe what is happening because there is simply a hidden room under the shelf, and stairs lead down straight into a dark basement. Alicia says she is sure this place was not in the official house plans, but Rend only advises them to check. However, Rend hoped that somewhere below a treasure is hidden, and not just hidden, but for a certain reason. Alicia picks up this idea. If they come across something truly valuable, they can donate the find to fund the shop. She decides that they just need to act, and descends the stone stairs into the darkness. Meanwhile, in the mansion of the great Bromeia, it is already late at night, and a servant sets out to find Lord Thomas. The man stands by the door and, with a trembling, frightened voice, tells the Count that he urgently needs to report something. In Bromeia's eyes, this man looks as if he is about to lose it. He grips his staff and demands to be told what happened. The servant reports, recently, monster attacks have been increasing across the entire territory. Only belatedly does Bromeia realize that he interrupted the Count's training session, so he forcefully drives his spear into the floor and orders to stop bothering him with petty, repeatedly trivial reports. He is reminded this place was once called Magical Wilds, so monster attacks here are an everyday, usual matter. But the servant insists that this is far from the main problem they are facing right now. He explains that in just a few days, a huge number of people have been wounded in many different places. The Count listens silently while the man reports. According to the villagers, everything became so bad only because they have already exhausted absolutely all the potions. And now they will desperately beg the manor to immediately send even more supplies. The servant noticeably tenses and says that every time he hears the word potion, Lady Alicia involuntarily comes to mind. So he asks if all this mess has any connection to the fact that she is no longer here. This is exactly the moment when everything breaks down for Count Bromeia. He storms down with his spear right next to the man, and the man flinches in fear. The servant tries to explain how the shortage of potions traces back to Alicia, but the Count just stares at him, not blinking, and dryly demands, "What exactly does he mean?" Bromeia explodes even more. He asks if this man is really hinting that monster attacks have become more frequent only because he expelled his daughter. This drives the servant into complete stupor, and he, quickly swallowing his words, runs to explain to the Lord that he is reading too much into things. But he cannot hold back. Unsteadily, stumbling, he still reveals the news. Allegedly, Alicia has long been supplying her own potions to Skrull Trading Company. As if she herself hinted, "At least let him glance." But Bromeia lashes out at him and declares that this whole story is a waste of time. He steps back, mercilessly discarding the potion as if it were all fake and fraudulent schemes, and states, "Only a complete idiot could rely on this." He turned sharply to the servant and, looking him straight in the face, demanded to increase the soldier patrols instead of searching for medicine. He is confident strengthening the guard will solve everything, and if it doesn't work, he will make the men train until they become stronger. Leaving the servant pinned against the door, he trembled while the servant whispered that he understood the orders. When the servant was removed from the way, Bromeia remains alone and thinks that Alicia is actually dealing with a large guild. Count Bromeia snorts under his breath. With his palm, he is sure Alicia is just pretending like a zealous sorceress assistant, as if brewing potions using her own name. It seemed there was no chance at all. Such a useless girl is incapable of pulling out anything real on her own. Meanwhile, downstairs in the manor's basement, Alicia is struck by how huge the hidden territory turned out to be. Frozen, staring at what looks like an underground field, while Rend reminds her, an ancient spirit gave them permission to use it. She is so out of it that Rend has to ask if she is even listening, and she only admits, the whole site is too hard to comprehend. And it turns out that the possibilities of this place hit her exactly like that. There is too much space here. She can grow any ingredients for potions that she might ever need. And just now Rend calls her to the corner. He found something hidden, and it really looks suspiciously interesting. Another moment and everything adds up to a real jackpot. Alicia leans closer and immediately understands. Before her is an extraordinarily rare item. It is an enchanted chest, magically locked tight, and lies right on the floor before them. She is already raising her voice to exclaim what it is, but barely manages to say a few words. The safe immediately starts a crazy spin. Alicia explains, this safe is not like an ordinary one, it only opens when you say a specific spell. Meanwhile, Ram, and asks if that means they are stuck, forced to admit idleness that maybe they cannot get inside. But there is something more to it. When she recalls, owners usually leave a clue somewhere nearby because people often forget their own passwords. And then she begins to search and finds a tiny inscription hidden on the side. But it turns out to be a very specific historical question about a famous scientific work that a scholar wrote over 800 years ago. Alicia fixates her gaze on the text, completely baffled how difficult this supposedly helpful clue turns out to be. But she weighs every word and recites a long, complicated name about mythical monsters, while Rend simply has no idea what strange magic she is casting now. She tells him that she is just answering the question, and at that very moment a click echoes through the basement, breaking the silence. Ren shouts that the door is finally open, but Alicia already doubts and asks if they are really sure about it. The two of them land nearby, intently staring at the dark safe and guessing what awaits them inside. The protective doors finally creak and dissolve. Inside are just three huge, dust-covered rocks scattered around. Ren looks at them and asks if this is ordinary stone. Alicia nods. Yes, that's exactly how they look, but suddenly he sinks to the floor and declares that after all that work, this is a complete failure. Alicia helps him up and doesn't believe it. The former owner would never have left everything behind if it were really just junk. So she suggests they go and look at the things just in case. They enter the shop and the man immediately loses his temper. The appraisers burst with excitement. They start sweating and shout out the names of super rare ores at the top of their lungs: alternate 8 and firefly pyroxene. Alicia asks if they are really worth anything and the saleswoman replies, they are worth a lot of money. Right. The expert literally faints from shock while the girl shouts for him to wake up. Selling those rare ores is a complete profit. Alicia walks away with a huge bag of money, more than enough to. It's already time for her to start her business. As soon as someone nearby notices her new place and asks if she is opening a shop, the old shopkeeper simply laughs while Alicia settles more comfortably and drinks tea, recalling how they finally talked through the construction plans. The old woman suddenly asks, has she already gone and obtained a permit for her affairs? Alicia only silently looks back with an empty, expressionless gaze. Alicia asks what a business permit actually is. The seller immediately breaks out in sweat. He realizes that Alicia hadn't even thought about it. The lady tells her that in this city you can't open a shop without this document, and Alicia completely loses her composure. She looks utterly exhausted and blurts out, where exactly does one have to go to get something like that? The shopkeeper explains, to get a permit for a potion shop, she needs to go to the alchemical guild to the guildmaster. Alicia heads to a huge, luxurious building called Aaron's workshop. That's where they say the guy should be. She stands by the gate and peers at the grand structure, trying to guess where the entrance is because the territory is too large. A man in a white coat appears out of nowhere and asks if she has business at the workshop. Alicia tries not to lose her temper and replies that she came for a permit to finally open her own potion shop. Ben looks completely confused. Sweat rolls down him as he finally realizes Alicia didn't come to argue but to ask for a permit for a trading spot. The whole environment weighs down and pressures him, but he immediately pulls himself together, apologizes to Alicia for rudeness and for not introducing himself right away. He pauses to regain composure, places his hand on his chest, and says that his name is Ben and that he is the assistant director of the workshop. Alicia extends her hand to shake, introduces herself as an alchemist, and Ben politely addresses her, Lady Alicia. As soon as they step through the gate, Ben explains, only the director can sign these permits. He says he will lead the way so Alicia can see it, but warns, that guy might turn out to be a bit eccentric, though it seems Alicia is not bothered by this at all. Suddenly, Alicia stops and looks aside. Curiosity flickers in the stars of her eyes. She asks if this building is a water-consuming greenhouse with its own magical water system. Ben looks almost impressed by how accurately she understands everything and confirms, yes, she is completely right about what kind of structure it is. Alicia notices another building in the background and asks if it is a compounding section. Ben replies that it is a special wing built from materials with a high level of protection. Alicia can no longer hold back. She shouts that all the equipment is simply incredible and rushes to the buildings like a true fan. Ben, completely shocked, watches as Alicia heads to the equipment and, almost recoiling randomly, loudly calls her name, noting, she is definitely a bit eccentric. Alicia looks back, stars shine in her eyes, and tells Ben that his workshop is simply incredibly wonderful, though Ben looks as if he still does not quite believe it. He looks away, a drop of sweat runs down his temple, and as if there is something here she does not yet know, he quietly repeats her words about himself. They reach the office, where from behind closed doors a voice welcomes them to Aaron's official workshop. Inside the workshop, the leader worker adjusts his glasses and immediately makes it clear. He holds all the power over the permit documents for the shops in the city. Helena again settled into his chair with a sly smile, as if everything was already decided, and introduced herself. Aaron, head of the entire alchemical guild. Aaron tells Alicia that it is an honor for him to finally meet the legendary potion seller with green hair, and she is momentarily lost, as if forcibly thrown off rhythm. She stands right in front of his huge desk, utterly confused, and asks where he even knows her by that name. Iron just brushes it off with laughter, leans back, and declares that lately she has become a real celebrity throughout the city. He pulls out a thick folder stuffed with notes about her, and says he even heard about how she healed a hand cut off to zero and how Alicia remained whole. After these words, he made her freeze in shock, how much he knows. Ren quietly whispers to Alicia, asking if she remembers how he said, he can tell who has a good heart and who has a bad one. Alicia replies that she remembers, although she looks a bit. Worry grows because Ren says, Iron is actually a rather suspicious guy with a dark heart. Rend orders her to hold the defense and warns, even with her talent, trying to open a shop in this city will be a real struggle. And on the other side of the desk, Alicia asks if it is really that difficult, and Aaron moves closer and clarifies if she is ready to hear the truth. He explains that the city of Torid stands right next to the Forest Fours, so they get all the best resources. And precisely because of this. But here a bunch of people are trying to open potion shops and the competition becomes unbearably tough. Most cannot handle it. Aaron directly tells her that he is not going to think otherwise. An independent shop without any big names supporting it will one day have customers, and it doesn't matter where they come from. He offers her a deal to come work at his workshop. He begins to describe to her the best treatment she can find anywhere, and Alicia just raises her hand and instantly stops him. Ben and Aaron both freeze in complete shock. They can't believe she just gave him a blunt no. Alicia makes it clear right away. For now, she has no desire whatsoever to work for anyone else, and Aaron looks like he's about to lose his mind. She explains her real goal is to finally have her own place that no one can ever take away from her. Alicia says she refused even Erica for the same reason, and Aaron can't stand it and asks why she agreed to that. He suddenly starts shouting and pressures her. In this city, there is no better way to get a job as a mixer than the deal he is offering, but to change her mind, she thanks him for the offer but says she simply cannot accept the idea of leaving Aaron hanging over her desk while she was. He watches him, stands up, gathers his thoughts, and sighing says it's a real shame she won't join him. Aaron adjusted his glasses, looked at the skiers sliding down the slope, and declared, "It's time to go over the real rules how to get a permit for a shop." Alicia raises her eyebrows in surprise. "So, are there conditions?" Aaron just barely smiles and reminds her that he is the head of the Alchemists Guild. He explains he is responsible for the quality of potions in the city, so he cannot just issue permits to everyone who comes in. Alicia and Rend freeze while Aaron starts reviewing his options and says he will see what he can do for her. Aaron lays down the law. He demands 50 morning V antidote elixirs within 7 days, and that is an insanely high bar. And he promises to give the permit if she really does it. Ben starts losing control and shouts that this request is too audacious, but Aaron simply ignores him, casually calling his assistant, and the assistant throws Ben a terrifying look and asks if he has a problem with how things are run here. Ben starts trembling and tries to back away, mumbling that it's not exactly like that, although that changes little. In his case, Aaron immediately shut him up, told him to keep his mouth shut and not to get involved. Alicia watches this drama and asks if permits always have such impossible rules, because most probably wouldn't manage even with these. Aaron just waves it off with laughter. He says the conditions depend on whom he is talking to and right now. He implies, for her, this is the bare minimum to open a shop in this city. But he doesn't stop, assures that she is completely free to just leave if she can't handle this heat. Aaron smiles, hinting that she can always join his workshop if the task turns out to be too big. But Alicia remains calm and says she understands him. Aaron looks completely confused by what he just heard, and Alicia is trying to explain something again, starting with the fact that she clearly shows she once fought off monsters over an entire territory herself, confident that she can handle his request. Aaron remains stunned by the scale of her past work. Alicia, by the way, double-checks the target, 50 morning V potions in 1 week. Aaron starts to sweat nervously when he realizes that maybe he underestimated her, but Ben is the one who really loses it. He asks if she is really serious, emphasizing, even with top synthesis skills, these conditions are a complete nightmare. Alicia looks at Aaron with an empty gaze and says that his way of speaking as if it's a joke makes one think only one thing. He deliberately sets those impossible goals. The words painfully sink into Aaron. And she wastes no more time, not even explaining what is happening. Aaron loses it on the spot, jumps up from the table and begs her to wait at least a second. Then he tries to hold her back and convince her to stay and talk a little more. On his face is a desperate expression that tightens the chest. Alicia does not accept this. She cuts straight to the point without wrapping it up and says that she has a lot of preparation if she wants to finish those potions on time. Aaron does not give up and hints that they can exchange some insider information about the potion industry while he shows her around the workshop. Alicia considers the offer and finally agrees, says she can spare just a little time. Meanwhile, Ben just stands in place in complete stupor as if he can't grasp how she manages everything. Alicia notices Aaron is completely immersed in the potions, exactly what her research indicated, but Ben and Aaron behind look extremely uncertain. In short, as it is, Aaron is already completely exhausted and speaking to Ben shifts all the remaining work onto him. And then she enters the market. Alicia pushes through the crowd and thinks about how harshly the people from that workshop are set. She considers that the biggest store in Torid could be just as dedicated to the cause, but Rand sharply pulls her out of this, asking how much longer she plans to stand here, lost in her own thoughts. Rand points out that the deadline for these infusions is about to come, and Alicia gets a little nervous, admitting that he is completely right about. She should have hurried, she decides. their first move is to find some lily of the valley to use as a base for the antidotes. Then she headed to the stall, but the shopkeeper looked at her and immediately averted his eyes apologetically but firmly, as if to say sorry, but he has to inform. He explains that Aaron's people were here very recently and bought every single lily of the valley in the entire city, leaving. Alicia stands still, frozen in pure shock. She can't believe what she hears and asks him to repeat, realizing that Aaron's store really set them up. Rand asks her what the plan is now because the competitor has almost cornered them. The seller continues his story. Lily of the Valley is not a rare flower, but there is one nuance when it comes to. He says it only grows during the rainy season. So once the city sells out its stock, no more Lily of the Valley will be seen until next year, and that means Alicia is officially stuck. Aaron, with that creepy smile, already looks like he has won, as if they have their own way to solve things. Alicia feels she has no choice, so she has to grab onto a crazy idea. Her own idea. She tells Rand it's time to move, and even though the boy looks completely exhausted, she already set for the next step. Rand is pondering in his mind where he knew that outside there were plenty of strange things and never expected. To do this, Alicia is literally pulling a heavy wooden cart through the streets to collect a huge pile of horse manure. And he was already running downstairs, just somewhere in the background observing, muttering that he had no idea she would really go that far. Flicker back about 30 minutes ago, Alicia is still digesting the bad news while walking through the market. Rand asks her what she is going to do about their situation, because there is no avoiding looking the facts straight in the eye. Every speck of lily of the valley needed for those antidotes has already been completely bought out by the competition. Alicia confirms to the shopkeeper that the flowers she needs are not for sale this season, and then turns to leave while realizing that if she does not find a way out, her shop permit will be rejected. She takes out a small pouch and shows Rand that it already contains seeds ready to start. Rand is embarrassed because they are only beginning. Having stated the basics, he asks if she really thinks they have time to grow a whole garden from scratch. He says the delivery deadline is in a week, but Alicia replies, there is a special potion for exactly this kind of problem. She shows him a bottle with a growth acceleration elixir, and I had to make the plants grow several times faster than usual, and explained that they would be able to gather the flowers in a moment. Rand is actually impressed and considers the plan brilliant, although he is still pondering the trick. He asks her what they really need to do the same, and Alicia says the first step is. She says this with a completely stoned face, and Rand is left to deal with the reality of her plan until he gets some horse manure. Rand barely utters the words and asks if she is serious about the horse manure. He is almost turned inside out by disgust, but isn't that exactly the same? Together they finally reach the stable. The narrator says the present moment has finally caught up. Rand looks like he is about to vomit while Alicia is preparing to work. Alicia starts shoveling the fertilizer as if it is nothing, and Rand is forced to crouch in the background where he suppresses the urge to vomit from the stench. The next day they are already in the forest. Rand keeps replaying how terrible everything was yesterday, how the stench still clings to him, and finally asks why they are hunting. Alicia checks the map as they walk and says she is looking for a magical plant, the Feiyu fruit. Rand is confused and asks why she can't just buy the necessary materials in the city instead of wandering the forest. Alicia just nods at the map and tells him it's not that simple because the Feiyu fruit is quite a specific find. It grows in these dark, torn-looking pods. She explains that technically a healing elixir can be made from it, but the effect is so weak that it is a waste of time. The real problem is the taste. Alicia says it is so disgusting that even birds and wild animals avoid it, which means working with it is a complete nightmare. Alicia repeatedly explains the fruit is not sold anywhere because it is considered completely useless for crafting. This makes Rand snap. She grabs her head and asks if Alicia really plans to turn something like that into a potion. Alicia simply starts running and says she will explain the details later, but now they need to move. The deadline is fast approaching. Eventually she stops below near a massive cliff and pulls out a map. Rand freezes and looks up at the height, and deadpan without any emotion indicates that it is a cliff. Alicia calmly agrees, yes, it is big. Rand points to exactly where the vine hangs, where the plant grows high on the ledge, and asks Alicia if this is the fruit she came for. She nods and confirms. Alicia shifts her gaze to Rand and asks if he can get the vine if he transforms back into his larger form. But Rand immediately dismisses the idea and says he has no chance of doing that. Alicia looks back at her map and seems to involuntarily confirm the worst, that they cannot climb up from there. Nothing can be done. She steps away, declares she does not want to waste time, and suggests trying another place, but Rand suddenly notices something. While Alicia checks the map, a group of travelers appears and asks if she is the famous potion seller everyone talks about. Alicia looks up and immediately understands. These guys are really from the Red Eagles, and it looks like they are insanely happy to see her here. The man steps forward, stands up, and introduces himself, Alg, the party leader. He turns around and finally says words, thanking her for setting his arm when he was in bad shape. Alicia just stares at him, thinking he looks like a tough veteran who has been through everything. Everything continues. He tells her that she really saved him, then if he were a great swordmaster, he probably wouldn't know what to do without both hands. Suddenly the whole group together sharply bows deeply, and Alicia is completely confused by this. He changes his gaze, looks down, and says he truly apologizes for having enjoyed the gratitude for so long, but he explains, at first he searched around the clock for the monster that tore his arm in front of their eyes, and now he just finally finished it off. Alicia replies a bit embarrassed that there's really no need to thank her like that, but their respect is felt very strongly anyway. Alicia tries to keep a calm face and tells them not to worry. She says she didn't even feel like she did anything special. But he is not the kind to let that go. He shouts that you can't just let this slip away. Looking her straight in the eyes, he calls her his salvation, clenches his fist, and promises to do everything she asks. Al looks up at the steep cliff and asks if he should just tear off those plants for her, and Alicia hesitantly nods. All right. She gradually feels guilty for her own suggestion and thinks about how to climb that wall with bare hands. Probably, it's unrealistically hard. But she tries to hold him back and tell him not to blame himself if it's really impossible, and still hesitates, whether she was wrong to ask for help. Before she can finish speaking, everything is already on top of the cliff. He grabs a branch, and she just freezes, looking stunned. He suddenly jumps down and lands right in front of her, hitting exactly where he needed to. He extends the branch with rare berries and tells her, "Here is what you were looking for." Alicia takes the plant and asks if he is really sure she can have it. Alg just smiles and replies, she won't benefit from it anyway, but for her little friend it will be perfect. Alicia beams and grabs Org's hands, thanking him again and again for the help. She tells him that honestly she is just incredibly glad he was nearby, and from this sudden attention he immediately blushes bright red. Org starts stammering as they shake hands, trying to look calm, and says it was all just like a piece of cake. Alicia doesn't stop. She continues telling him once more how much he really helped them. She shines with delight. Now they finally have everything to brew the potion. Alicia waves goodbye and leaves, leaving the rest of the party waving back for a while until Org stands behind, completely detached from reality, and whispers about how he actually held her hand. One of his partners tells him not to even mention that his feelings have gone off the rails, but Org immediately tries to shut it down. And he starts making excuses, insisting that he is actually just very grateful to her for having healed his hand earlier. When they walk away, he finally admits to himself he is simply stunned because she is exactly his type and much nicer than he thought. The childish Red Eagle keep pestering Org nonstop, and one of them mocks him, teasing that he is supposedly in love. Org jerks back sharply, bright red with indignation, and shouts, he already told them he is not in love with her. Returning to the workshop, Alicia gets to work. She pours some dried horse manure into a large wooden barrel. Calva adds magical water, and Alicia watches the mixture closely, not taking her eyes off it. After that, she adds Fulio fruit, gathered from the great forest, and lets them float right on the surface of the liquid. Alicia explains, once the mixture starts to seep, a few days pass and everything changes. The properties of this fruit will change into a key ingredient for growth potions, and Rand looks a bit worried. How and when they will manage. He directly asks Delicia if she can really meet the delivery deadline for these orders. For a moment, Delicia looks uncertain, but honestly admits that she really hopes they can pull it off. She doesn't want to just sit and wait, so she tells Rand they need to go take care of the underground fields. The builders are bustling around the new wooden structure. Hammers don't stop, pounding incessantly, and Ben calls the master from the workshop. He peeks through the window and is completely confused, asking what the hell they are even building here. Aaron remains sitting at his desk, happily flipping through papers and declaring that they are building him a completely new laboratory. He moves closer with a creepy smile and adds that this place was made especially so that Alicia could use it. Ben just stands in place, all sweaty, and is overwhelmed with shock that he is actually building a whole laboratory just for her. Aaron adjusts his tea as if it goes without saying. She is so talented that she brews 5th-rank potions. With madness in his eyes, he looks at her and says, as soon as he gets his hands on her, he will put her in that laboratory and lock her in, so that she brews profitable potions one after another, leaving Ben almost no doubts. Aaron looked too worried. Ben tries to explain that she didn't even agree to join them, but Aaron cuts him off and says that it's already decided. He starts laughing and admits, there's no chance to make 50 top-level antiseptic elixirs alone in a week, so he needs her. Iron laughs like a villain, holding some trinket in his hand and boasting that he has already collected all the lily-of-the-valley flowers throughout the city. Ben has to admit, it's true, although he still looks too tense, while Aaron just sits nearby and quietly chuckles. With a creepy gleam in his eyes, Iron cuts in that there is very little left, and he will finally make that talented girl his. The camera switches to a huge underground garden in the middle of the mansion. A long, tired sigh hangs in the room. It turns out to be Alicia, exhausted. She has sat down and grumbles that her back hurts terribly. Ren from above, from a crate, watches her and reminds her She hasn't even properly started plowing the fields yet. He says that she just has to hire some adventurers again to help because every time heavy lifting is needed, she calls them. When they helped to move into the mansion, or when they hauled that mountain of horse manure, and all this made Alicia feel very awkward in front of everyone. But she puts on a serious look and explains. She actually wants to do as much of the potion-making process herself as possible. Ren just looks at her completely stunned and asks how much. It turns out she really likes brewing potions. Alicia sways the potion for enhancement on the 5th, just to regain some energy, and tells herself she must keep going. And then she returns to work with the hoe, while Rand sits on a nearby crate and shouts for her not to slow down. But there is too much physical work. Eventually, she collapses powerless on the floor, and Rand just watches. At the estate, time is running out. Only one single day remains until her big deadline. So she finally finds the strength within herself and reaches the moment when she can open the processing barrel. She declares that everything is finally ready. As soon as Rand gives her credit for the hard work, she gets to work. She stretches her hand over the barrels and calls the result with her synthesis skill. And this gives birth to a giant batch of high-potency growth potion 1 that makes plants grow many times faster than usual. She carefully pours the mixture where she planted the seeds and leaves hope for the best. And it really works. As soon as Rand asks her to look, a tiny sprout rises from the ground. Alicia is delighted. The seed has already sprouted, and it is clear that her growth potion works flawlessly. But she only manages to say, "Everything will be ready in a moment," and suddenly breaks off mid-sentence. There is definitely something wrong in the air. If Rand asks what he is even considering, Alicia does not answer. She stands, sweating and staring at the result, which overwhelms her with complete shock. We move on to the deadline day at the workshop. Someone greets her as soon as she steps over the building's threshold. Iron gives her that self-satisfied, annoying smile and says he is glad she actually came, not ran away. After looking over the table piled with potions, he admitted she brought exactly the amount they agreed on. He tells her that everything looks like the right potions but warns small tricks won't work on him. And he boasts that he has staff skilled in evaluation to catch fakes, while his assistant is just starting the inspection. Iron continues clicking his tongue and spouting nonsense, saying she feels really bad from this, but his assistant already looks very exhausted and tense. While Aaron laughs somewhere behind, the assistant nervously calls him because what he sees does not give him peace. Bento stares at the results and cannot believe his own eyes. He declares that the potions are truly genuine. Iron begins to lose his composure. He shouts that this is impossible and throws out a question whether he checked everything correctly at all. Bento replies that that is exactly what he did and explains. He ran the examination several times and the numbers did not change. Sweat runs down his face and the assistant adds confirmation. Every bottle of potion is a high-quality rank 5 detox potion. Aaron tries to wriggle out, saying that the guy is just sick, and then orders Ben to immediately find another appraiser. But even a whole group of experts just shrugs and agrees. The potion is genuine without any fakes. Aaron stares motionless at the shelf, as if he doesn't believe his eyes, and mutters that this is impossible, while Alicia asks what all the fuss is about. She calmly holds his gaze and wonders why he is so shocked that she is even capable of brewing a basic detoxification decoction. So Aaron starts inventing wild lies, accusing her as if she brought it from some other town and refuses to issue a permit. Alicia just looks at him in response until he points with his finger and asks if this is really the plan, how he intends to sort everything out. Alicia decides that the manager's lies are enough. She says directly, if he continues, she will show him the truth. She calls the guest to come in, and just in time the door is smashed open by a group of guys shouting that they have already arrived. They start dragging huge wooden crates as if it's nothing. Aaron instantly jumps up and asks who these people even are. Alicia waves him off, let him not worry. She explains that these are just a few adventurers she hired to help with the delivery. When the workers unload the cargo, Aaron nervously reaches to open one of the piles. He asks her what exactly she is hauling in these. As soon as he sees the contents, he immediately starts screaming he can't believe the whole crate is packed with rank 5 antidotes. Having proven her point, Alicia shifts her gaze and attention back to the workshop manager to arrange everything once and for all. She reminds him of the very theory just spoken, that she must bring these potions from another city. Then she lays out the facts and asks directly if he really believes that someone can get as many as 500 rank 5 potions in 7 days. Aaron finally breaks down and collapses on the floor, completely giving up. He mumbles that he now understands everything and solemnly promises he will finally give her the permit. Returning to the estate, Alicia celebrates their success. She shouts at Rand that they really did it, and Rand recalls how he was overwhelmed with anxiety when the lilies of the valley started growing wildly. Alicia brushes it off with laughter, admitting it was truly a big surprise. But Rand insists, in the end, everything turned out for the better. Alicia leans back in her chair and supports his words while they are here. She looks completely calm. Rand says that making 500 bottles is still too much for one person. Alicia just shrugs. Maybe it is the reaction she gets from all that hard work that makes the creation so enjoyable. But then her mood shifts a bit. She begins to wonder why the workers in that place even obey some guy like Aaron. It doesn't make sense to her, especially since she thinks he is a nobody who can't even keep himself in check. Rand hears this and admits maybe she is right about him, so he leaves everything as it is. Alicia slowly gazes at the old buildings nearby. It seems to her there must be some hidden reason behind Aaron's behavior. Suddenly a shout echoes down the empty alley. Some man calls out and asks if Sam is nearby. The camera approaches the garbage passage, where a sign hangs on cheap hinges. In a dark corner sits a suspicious guy. He counts a huge pile of coins, smiles crookedly, and asks Aaron what he is doing there. Inside the building, a shadowy man watches as Aaron grabs a pouch of coins from the table and notes how much the workshop director's hurry is cutting on his nerves. Aaron does not look like someone who cares about the price. When he tells this guy he will pay any amount named, it becomes clear he is all tense, as if he has been holding back for a long time. How much longer will he hold on? The man takes on a specific job and Aaron grimaces, smiling eerily, as if he has finally found a plan to deal with his problems. Alicia returns, looks at the blueprint of the new shop, and lets out a deep relieved sigh, as if it has just become tangible. This is starting to become reality. Walking across the bridge together with Rand, she says how madly she is waiting for construction to finally begin. Rand freezes for a moment, then replies that it is probably already a bit too late to ask. But he wants to find out if she really plans to run the entire shop by herself. Alicia shifts her gaze to him and says that right now everything is planned exactly that way. She looks too confident in herself. But eventually she admits she's still a bit nervous about how everything will go next, especially after all the problems with the guildmaster. Org stands nearby and tells her he understands why she feels that way. Alicia calls him, and Org responds a bit confused that quite some time has passed since their last conversation. While she descends the stairs together with Rand, Alicia thanks him again for the help he recently gave her. Org watches her leave and says he really wants to repay her somehow as soon as she is ready. She is panicking and tells Alicia not to worry, and Alicia replies in a calm tone. She just returned the favor for him helping her with her hand. Alicia notices that he is acting strangely and asks if he is a bit tense. Org immediately pulls back offended, muttering that this is not true at all, but eventually he can't take it and shouts loudly across the space, saying that he is not nervous. Alicia just stands and looks at him calmly as if, while the blonde from his company watches from the side and whispers to others that Org is completely losing self-control. The girl in glasses tells him to loosen his grip on the leader. The guy has spent his whole life hunting monsters and has not the slightest idea how to talk to women leaving. Another team still remembers how he behaved terribly in similar matters before. Alicia changes the subject and asks Org what he has been doing today. This question throws him off. He flinches, trying hard to pull himself together again and get back into the game. And finally explains that he took on a job to track down several criminals in the forest. He takes out a wanted poster from his gear and shows it to her, saying, "The target is a rather brutal-looking man with a colossal 12 million bounty on his head." Alicia looked at the poster and said the man looked familiar. She asked if it was that giant ape monster from Best Geary books. This Org tensed up a bit from that comparison and has to clarify. That guy is definitely a human criminal, not a monster. But he explains the target is actually a man named Garroth the Battle Act. This guy is pure power, standing over piles of his enemies, thank you. And it turned out that he previously led a whole bunch of former mercenaries. He has a reputation, incredibly strong and ruthless. He even destroyed the entire 30-soldier squad sent by the kingdom. He completely blows the minds of his teammates. They wave their hands and shout for him to stop talking about such heavy topics in front of her. Org realizes he spoiled the mood, so he chokes up and blushes all over when he says to Alicia, "Just make sure you stay safe." Alicia gives him an indifferent look and replies that she understands, then promises she will neither go nor approach the forest just like. He walks away and wishes him luck on his mission as a farewell. Org panics and shouts for her to wait a second because he will die. Actually, he has something else for her. He blushes all over with shame, extends a huge beautiful bouquet, and says he has long dreamed of giving it to her. Org says he just accidentally came across these flowers while walking in the forest. He even thought they are rare enough to pick. But suddenly he starts to feel shy. How can a guy like him walk around with a bouquet? He extends the flowers forward and says he would like Alicia to have them. Alicia quite unexpectedly catches this gesture. But she instantly recognizes the Miss Ipe flowers and immediately says he did an amazing job finding such a rare one. She asks if he is really sure about giving them away, because they are expensive ingredients for potions. They can fetch a high price, and Org just quietly blushes and says that of course he is sure. Alicia hears how Org says that he chose them specifically for her, but then, when he starts to panic, he even blushes and stammers, trying to backtrack to finally tell her that he meant something completely different. He states that he is not struggling with money anyway, so Alicia just shrugs and changes the subject. She will take it if he doesn't mind. Later at the Spirit Turtle estate, he couldn't resist and threw a comment. Alicia is too deaf for her own good. When Alicia goes inside, Rend keeps walking and says that even a turtle like him could understand what that organization was trying to achieve. Alicia just looks at him as if he is crazy and asks what he is even talking about. The castle clicks, the doors slide open, and someone immediately realizes that they have hit the right place. Shouts to the others, look what they found. A gang of bandits storms inside the estate. One laughs, saying the doors weren't locked at all, and Alicia stands in complete shock. A voice comes from the darkness, cold and skeptical. It asks if this is really the alchemist they were supposed to find. The men whisper back and forth, doubting, could they have taken the right target? She looks way too young for such work. Garrot sits in place, leaning on her weapon. She says it doesn't really matter who she is, especially since they have already been paid a lot of gold to capture her. Alicia begins to shiver and moan, coming to her senses. The bandit leader looms over her with a mocking look and throws, or maybe this young lady has already woken up. She raises her gaze and all color instantly disappears from her face. She cannot believe her eyes. Simply standing above her is the one she did not expect to see. Frightened, Alicia asks what the giant ape is doing. And the man grumbles in response that calling someone a monster right after the first meeting is quite a bold move. She tries to hold herself together and explains through trembling that she only knows him because she recently saw his face on a wanted poster. Alicia asks what a guy with such a huge bounty prize even needs, and in response hears only a dry chuckle, as if he is carefully assessing her. As if to say he is really impressed that she knows exactly who he is. Garroth stands spreading a huge smile and introduces himself as the great bandit Garroth of the battle axe, tugging his weapon and showing. Alia is frightened that she was brought here for a reason. One of the guys points at her and explains that her kidnapping is a job requested by someone else. The image of Aaron, the workshop leader, suddenly bursts into the conversation. They say he went around complaining that Alicia is a monster-class alchemist who, if she opens a shop, will steal all his clients without exception, so it turns out. Alicia understands. It is definitely her former boss doing this. She looks completely exhausted, runs through the confidentiality agreement she signed with him in her head and how exactly this whole mess started. But the bandit leader does not care about her drama. He looms over her and simply says that she has only two options to choose from. Garroth drops to one knee and looks her straight in the eyes. The first option is for her to be sold into slavery, and he makes Alicia pale when he asks if she can imagine what eventually happens to people in such a situation. She still finds her voice and tremblingly pretends to ask, what is the other option then? Hoping, of course, for the better. It is better than the first. Garroth laughs and says the second is simple. She joins his team and starts brewing potions for their entire group. He emphasizes, since they were once mercenaries, they more than anyone know how truly important good supplies of potions are. Alicia looks at the floor and realizes, here she has no real choice. She says she understands and will cooperate. The leader just smiles, glad that she is behaving so sensibly with all this. Alicia follows the bandit. Realizing this is no joke, she orders herself never to give her abilities to anything bad. She decides to play obedient a little longer, pretends to listen, but secretly watches until a chance to break away arises. They reach a gigantic complex, and Alicia asks about the facility. This momentarily throws the bandit off balance. He explains their business in the thickets of the deep forest, in an old potion laboratory that everyone considers abandoned. But in reality, it is the perfect shelter. Thick walls keep all the local monsters away. Moreover, around the entire place, there is a hidden barrier, so it is almost impossible for anyone to stumble upon them and get caught. The man throws her a self-satisfied look and says she shouldn't even waste attempts to escape or wait for help. No one will come because he is leaving. Alicia stands still and trembles, tries to stay on her feet, whispering to herself that everything is fine. She keeps her head low and pulls herself by a whispering thread of hope. She is still alive because she is not alone in this. Suddenly she notices Rand bound with heavy chains. She calls his name and he looks back with relief. Finally she is here. Renge begins to apologize. He feels sorry for what happened even though he was next to her. Delicia simply tells him that she is glad because he is safe, and Rand admits that he failed to escape without injuries. He explains, since that attack at the estate, he cannot properly use his magic. And to make things even worse, they stole his jewel. Now he cannot even transform back. And Alicia finally realizes that they have truly cornered him. She tries to shake off the panic, whispering to herself that there must be something they can do to break free, when a voice from the shadows asks if the bandits caught her, and she is completely surprised. The man calls himself Luke, and showing his own set of heavy shackles, boasts about them. And he sits there quite calmly for someone who claims to be just waiting to be sold to some criminals. Luke says her name while the bandits outside continue shouting and arguing among themselves. Stop being lazy, get back to work, so. Alicia simply gives him a polite nod and quickly replies, trying to remain respectful even though she is tied up and lying on the floor. Alicia answers Luke that she is an alchemist, but Luke just silently looks at her with that empty, pretty cover boy gaze and suddenly leans too close to her face. Honestly, this is just too much. Alicia freezes in place and thinks that he looks like some prince from fairy tale books. He keeps staring intently and doesn't say a word, so Alicia nervously asks if there is something wrong with her face. Luke only barely smiles and says that it's just because they met for the first time, and Alicia feels completely awkward from these words. She tries to move the conversation along, introduces Rand, and he also raises his voice, says hello. Luke considers this something insane. It's rare to see a turtle that talks, so Alicia has to correct him and explain that it's not a turtle but a spirit. While the bandits keep shouting at each other nonstop near the door, Luke tells her everything about the situation. And only now does Alicia realize, if they don't find a way out right now, they will effectively remain stuck together with these criminals. She looked at Rand again and asked for bad news, as if just checking that his powers are still completely gone. Luke begins to explain. Since he was hit by something, he has felt completely out of sorts. It turned out to be a magical inhibiting needle. And these things, no joke. It's a rare magical tool. You won't find it in ordinary stores because it disrupts mana flow and prevents anyone from properly using their abilities. He glances at his own wrists, and suddenly everything falls into place. These very needles were embedded right into the handcuffs he is still wearing. Alicia says she had heard thieves talking before, so she asks Luke, can he tell anything else, something that could definitely help? It turns out Luke has been sitting like a prisoner for quite a long time. While he was held there, he managed to overhear a bunch of local details. Alicia brightens up a bit with hope because he is so knowledgeable. She guesses, in everything he has seen, there must be a hidden clue for their escape, and Ren completely agrees with her. She says this can be called fate, as if it happened that way they met. Then she asks if he wants to join her and find a way out together. Luke does not hesitate for a second. He gives her a short, almost imperceptible smile and replies, of course. He keeps his tone as if nothing special happened. He says he has nothing else to do anyway. And this confuses Alicia. For a guy in a dungeon, he is way too relaxed. After that, Luke starts going over everything he knows, hoping that among his knowledge sooner or later, there will be the very key that will finally get them out of there. Luke speaks more frankly and explains, the bandits hide here not by accident. Because the ship they are using to escape the country is actually broken. It is hidden in the forest and is currently being repaired. He emphasizes, if they want to break out, they need to move while that ship is not yet ready to sail. Alicia asks if he knows exactly when the repairs will be finished, and Lucas honestly answers that he is not sure about the timing. And that is not the only problem, because Garroth sits immediately on 2 giant level 4's axe and super strength. Alicia does not believe he has that much. But Luke stubbornly continues the conversation. He says the rest of the team is just as vigilant, they just don't make any discoveries. The entire place was fortified like a fortress. Only one passage remained, an entrance or exit, and it was held under heavy guard. Luke admits that escaping from here alive is almost impossible. But Alicia does not back down. She declares that she will give everything she has to this escape. She slowly lowers her gaze to her bound hands and seems to say, if her first plan does not work and does not get them out of there, she is ready to drink her deadliest poisonous potion dose to destroy every last bandit, even if it means she herself won't be lucky enough to get out. Luke hears the extreme options of Alicia's backup plan and cannot believe his ears. He looks at her and mutters that it is simply completely insane. He catches up with his own thought and throws at her that his idea of her character was completely different, much more radical. But the conversation is cut off. One of the bandits grabs a bottle and goes crazy, shouting that Alicia Brood's potion is actually just incredible. The guy twitches with excitement and shouts to the team that Alicia really pulled out a rank 5 potion, something he hasn't even seen according to his skill in evaluation. Hero watches from the side and looks quite satisfied while telling Alicia that her skill definitely matches all the rumors he has heard. One of the followers tries to downplay, insists that the quality depends only on the magical water from this land, and Rand just stands silently watching. A small turtle spirit leans toward Alicia and asks what the next move is, hinting, since she has already finished brewing, she is basically ready to go all out. Alicia immediately cuts off this idea, looks around at the crowd of bandits and shows that there are too many of them to take on all at once. She looks exhausted from work and announces that for today the brewing is over, but she still worries about those needles Luke mentioned. And suddenly a voice sharply barked at Rand, throw away the jewel and stop wasting time. He was directly accused of being as cunning as Luke had warned. The supplies on the table speak for Alicia. She spent the whole day brewing only healing and explosive potions. And since the bandits themselves provided her with all the ingredients, she had no chance and no reason to prepare anything for her own escape. She looks completely worn out. She silently gnaws on the thought that she won't be able to use any fast-acting poison, which her attention is immediately caught by Garroth. He asks if she said something and Alicia immediately deflects everything and assures that it was nothing at all. Gareth just smiles predatorily, looking into the hall, and declares that with such a number of potions, they will have no problems even if at night adventurers do appear. Rand leans toward her head and whispers that it is still not time for her big move and then Jaroth can't hold back and intervenes in the conversation. If she really wants to escape safely, she should consider the awakening potion. Alicia assures that it lasts a short time, but draws out a person's true, sleeping power, but Jaroth just waved it off and said he doesn't need it. He decides that enough work has been done for today, and orders Luke to be shackled and dragged back to his room while he himself stays in place. They lock themselves in again, and Alicia finally asks Luke what they should do next. Alicia stands by the door looking completely exhausted, silently pondering how to find a way to brew that very tincture. But Luca only smiles in response and advises her to relax and not be so impatient. He holds charm, explaining that frowning and looking so worried actually spoils the sweet face. Alicia is not going to swallow that. She tells him she doesn't need those words now and that she needs truly useful advice, before directly asking him to stop showering her with compliments since that doesn't save their situation. Luke looks a bit broken and asks Rend, is his word really so hard to trust? Rend tells Luca not to worry, such people are always the same, and Alicia keeps focus on the main problem. She adds, everything would be much simpler if they just knew what exactly the bandits are planning at this very moment. This makes Luke jump up lively. Maybe he does have an idea about this. Alicia doesn't believe and asks if he is serious or joking. He just nods. But even despite this, Alicia still has the feeling, whatever the robbers are up to, it is unlikely to be connected with the potions she brews. Alicia stands by the barrels while the bandits watch her closely. One of them asks how she managed to gather all these materials in one day. Garrot sits with crossed arms and looks stern. He tells Alicia that he needs to clarify one thing with her. His gaze flickers sharply as he leans closer, and he asks if it is really true that she has a potion exactly like booze. Alicia does not tremble and answers, yes, immediately clarifying that its specific name is Confusion Potion. She explains, despite the name, there are no side effects. It only makes people feel intoxicated as if they had drunk. She says it is non-alcoholic, so it is given to make people quit drinking, but Jarrett no longer knows how to control himself. Jarrett slams his fist on the ground with a crash and growls that he doesn't care about all this. He explains that lately they have not been able to get to the city, that's why there was no proper food. Garrett looks completely exhausted while Alicia and Rand watch him. He shouts that they all have so much hidden anger and tension. Behind his back, the rest of the thugs start acting brazenly, shouting that they don't care what it is as long as they get a drink. Garrett and his whole team accelerate to full speed, pushing their fists up and demanding their drinks as a group. Garrett growls at Alicia to shut up and finally start brewing the potion. Alicia quickly agrees and tries to calm everyone down while taking the work into her hands. She throws to the rowdy company, "We start right now, so they just have to keep their cool a little longer." In this chaos, Alicia immediately understands. Luke was right about these guys. They just need alcohol and they manage as best they can. Luke had said earlier, their city contacts can still supply food, but hauling heavy wine barrels to the hidden forest camp is almost impossible. Alicia honestly wonders how quickly the bandits picked up her trick with the wine potion. Still, she is sincerely glad. It turns out everything worked, so the first stage of their escape plan has officially started. Now she only needs to find a way to use that special item she was given, and then maybe they will have a chance to get out of there. Meanwhile, at the Adventurers Guild, someone is in complete shock, shouting, not choosing words. Alicia is missing. The lady from the inn explains the circumstances to the guild members. She says she went to the manor to deliver some ingredients but saw the front door wide open. She looks completely confused as she adds, she just checked the house and saw clear signs of a fight. Returning to the guild, Org looks very tense. He is already starting to think that something really happened to Alicia. Meanwhile, Alicia begins working on her plan, grinding chadori grass into a fine powder. She carefully separates the stem from the vital mushroom and leaves the cap for the next part of the recipe. Mixing everything together, she pours in some of Lando's magic water to bring the mixture to order. Alicia focuses and activates the synthesis skill, and the cup flashes with bright light. The result is a 5th-rank confusion potion, a super powerful alcohol that will break anyone who drinks it. Thieves completely lose their heads and rush to the cup, but Alicia orders them to wait a second. She brings the rowdy crowd to order and declares, she will prove that it is safe. She will take the first sip herself. Alicia takes a big sip while Garroth watches intently. He notices that after it she looks absolutely normal. Alicia tells them, since this is such a high rank, before starting to drink it must be properly diluted. Alicia keeps a cool head and calmly explains that she is fine. She has a natural endurance to any kinds of potions. She says that for any normal person, these things are strong enough to immediately confuse them due to intoxication, and leaves. Garroth, bound to her by his gaze, does not believe his own eyes. Completely sweaty and cannot hold back from asking what the hell is wrong with her body. Alicia ignores his shock and orders the bandits to start diluting the mixture even before they drink, and one guy salutes. First she takes a huge sip, and only then shouts how delicious the explosion is. Its taste receptors are completely knocked off track, and he is in complete shock from the taste. Other guys panic asking what this even is, because it does not resemble any alcohol they have ever encountered. The whole room explodes with shock as the rumor about that crazy drink spreads, and even the Jeroth begins to falter, admits that it looks safe here but still does not take his eyes off the mugs. It is stronger than water. Bandits throw a grand party, shouting together, loudly knocking back drinks and mocking each other, while Alicia secretly laughs watching them. She cannot help but think to herself that this plan is going much better than she ever could have imagined. Geralt clearly reaches for a shot but still restrains himself. He keeps himself in check, closely watching his people to see if any side effects pop up in the brew before he drinks it himself. Alicia watches him out of the corner of her eye and quickly realizes, this guy is much more cautious than he pretends to be. To pull off the next part of her plan, she will need a little more time. And suddenly Jeroth sharply turns to her, drops the mask and asks directly, what is her real goal? He says without beating around the bush that there is no chance she went through all this trouble for their sake without hidden benefit. Alicia is momentarily lost and at that moment fully realizes, this guy is actually quite clever. She waves it off and replies that she simply wants to prove her worth as a member of the group during this job. She takes another step and finally asks, will he allow her to freely walk around the territory? The other bandits immediately jump up shouting that she is just a newbie looking for a way to escape. They keep throwing insults at her relentlessly, but she only sighs heavily. How annoying it is to be stuck in one room all day. Geralt falls silent for a moment, promises to let it go and leaves Luca completely stunned in the background. The boss really agreed. As he walks away, Geralt adds that she is still too slow to run away, so Alicia remains exactly where they wanted her. Geralt withdraws his men and tells Alicia that he will allow her to walk as long as a guard is nearby, essentially giving. She tasted freedom and then he suddenly swung his huge axe right at her, the blade flashing so fast that he tears the iron shackles right off her wrist, stands over her and says, this is a group bound by iron chains leaving. Alicia froze, staring into his terrible face as he warned, if she tries to deceive them, she will be in trouble. She forces herself to smile and stammers, saying she understands everything, but inside she is already falling apart because the guy is just too. Horror, there is no way she will remain a servant to this man, and right then a decision ripens in her mind. She will find a way to get out of there. When she returns, one of the bandits hanging by the door greets them back. And in the room, Luke just collapsed on the bed as if he were on vacation. He looks up and asks her if everything went okay with the boss. Alicia just looks at him, not understanding how he can be so calm while she holds onto Calva and tries to process everything at once. She tells him that the bandits loved the potion and that is why they finally removed her shackles. Luke lies on the bed, calmly looking at Alicia and clarifies whether those chains that will be removed from them will really change anything. He says that by gaining the bandits' trust, it is easier to move around, but Alicia immediately interrupts the conversation and declares that she already has a plan for how to deal with the situation. Luke simply closes his eyes and cuts off, saying that if she talks like that, he is not going to worry about it, making Alicia hesitates. Does he even take all this seriously? She asks if he is interested, what he himself thinks, and then he simply shifts the responsibility onto her. Alicia looks down at him and feels he does not so much trust her as he is indifferent to whether they escape from here or not. She cannot shake one thought, does Luke even want to return to where he came from? But for a moment she cuts off these thoughts, there is something much more urgent, and she has to tell him. She clears her throat to attract attention and says that thanks to the advice he gave her earlier, she really managed to do. With the bandits, they actually managed to make real progress. Lucas just waved his hand through a barely noticeable lazy smile and assured her that it means nothing at all. After all the thanks, Alicia stands over him with a completely serious face and asks if he could please start taking off his clothes. Luke just looks at her and in his head there is instantly emptiness. His request threw him off track. It was so out of left field that he barely processes what he just heard. And before he can come to his senses, Alicia reaches out and starts tugging at his vest. Luke Pennock shouts for her to wait because he has no idea what she is doing. But she does not stop. She keeps an absolutely impassive expression while he frantically asks why she suddenly tries to undress him right here. Alicia calmly explains that she just wants to thank him for the sound advice he gave her earlier. But Luke does not believe it. He shouts back and wonders why her way of thanking sounds so aggressive. He looks away and his face, turning, flashes bright red while his heart races wildly. He thinks to himself that she is missing too many steps here. Alicia just tilts her head and asks if what she is doing is really that strange doing. Her intention becomes a little clearer as soon as she lifts the bowl of water and the rag. Her hands are tied, washing properly won't work, so she decided to help him clean himself up. Rend intervened from the side and looking all too pitiful in his shackles nodded, when you can't wash it's disgusting. At least that somewhat comforts. Alicia looks around and asks who actually came up with this particular idea for thanks, and Rand quickly admits the plan was all his. Alicia is a little nervous and asks if she is bothering him, but Luke immediately assures Heron the contrary. He really appreciates it. It turns out he himself has already started feeling self-conscious about how he smells, and she begins to wipe him with a damp rag. While working, his physique involuntarily catches her eye. For a boy who had been in captivity, he was in unexpectedly good shape. Luke looks away and blushes noticeably as he explains that he has been training with a sword since childhood. That's where the muscles come from. Alicia just stares at him without blinking, and she asks if there is something wrong with her, completely missing the mood of this situation. Luke begins to panic and tells her if she moves any closer, they will actually touch each other. For him, that is already too much. But he simply cannot believe it. Next to the guys, she has zero sense of danger. The next few days pass like this. The bandits keep Alicia under duress and force her to brew the potion of confusion around the clock. She spends time in the shelter corridor, watching the drunken guards, memorizing exactly where they hide the keys. Everything for the escape must be at hand. She glances at the cleaners passing by her and breaks into a decisive voice. Finally, it's time to make her move. Luke looks back and asks what her real plan is to get them out of there. Then Alicia turns to him and clarifies if he is really starting to understand the details of her strategy, and Luke. He just smiled and said he was a little worried about how things were going, so he decided at least to listen to what she thinks. Luke can't help but think that this girl has absolutely zero sense of danger. Meanwhile, Alicia is somewhere breaking down in her head that her trust in him has completely fallen into the abyss, but she still hasn't. Grasping at this, she stops, pulls determination out of herself, and tells Luke that she has found exactly what they need to finally get out of there. She shows him a whole bunch of missile flowers and explains, these magical plants are the main ingredient for making high-grade sleeping potions. Then Calva bursts into the conversation and asks if these are the same flowers or if she gave them, so Luke stands there frozen. Everyone is in complete stupor, not understanding who this guy is and what kind of person he is here at all. Alicia confirms this and says she was lucky to keep them in her pocket, not in a bag, so the bandits didn't even suspect she had them. Since the bandits are already distracted and wandering while waiting for even more confusion potions, their guard is almost zero. Alicia's plan is simple, to slip the secret sleeping potion into the next batch. She brews it to knock each of them off their feet and put them all to sleep without exception. She explains, as soon as everyone falls asleep, she will take the jewels and the keys to their shackles so they can break free. But Luke just looks at her, acknowledging, this whole idea sounds quite bold and risky. He only has to ask if she is really ready to carry through something so crazy. Luke looks her straight in the eyes and suddenly becomes serious. He tells Alicia that if her plan fails, they will both definitely die. He sits there bound in chains and says that he has been thinking about something for a long time. He continues. Alicia sharply interrupts the conversation and asks directly, does he even want to escape from here or not? Luke admits escaping sounds reasonable, but honestly he has nowhere left to go, so Alicia is left completely speechless. And then he drops a real bombshell. He is sure that it was his own family who arranged his kidnapping from the very beginning. He recalls what he was eating before everything went wrong. He tells how they laced poison into his food. And the very next moment he came to his senses, locked up in this dump, and with no idea what had happened. We tell Sir there is no way back to such people for him. This revelation hits Alicia and Calva surprisingly hard. Luke closes his eyes. There is almost defeat in his voice when he talks about the reality of being sold into slavery. But then, when he tries to brush it off with laughter and mumbles that maybe a new life in a new land isn't so bad after all, Alicia just looks at him and doesn't believe his fake smile for a single second. Alicia looks at Luke with full sympathy and asks for confirmation. Is it true that his own native blood betrayed him, selling him out? She lowers her gaze, finally getting to the point of why he does not want to break free from here. And then she raises her eyes and says to him directly, she is not like that. She will definitely get out of there. Her gaze sharply chills as she admits she has nowhere to return to, neither there. And as soon as these words flew out, she. And this is exactly what makes her explain. Unlike him, she has her own place built from scratch with her own hands. So Luke just looks at her for a moment as if stunned, and then quietly says that he hears her. He nods to her with a tired but sincere smile and replies, if she is so stubbornly determined, he will not stand in her way. Meanwhile, outside, beyond the cage, the rest of the bandit camp freezes in dead silence until the guards feel a heavy wave of drowsiness covering them. Alicia and Luke peek out from behind the door and see how the bandits, like rags, slump over their drinks. Alicia immediately understands. Her knockout potion has finally worked. Calvahops sneak up together as soon as they make their move, commenting on how the whole group has completely collapsed on the floor. Alicia says that she deliberately made the sleepy potion weaker, and also adjusted it so that the effect would start with a delay. So she concludes that the robbers relaxed and drank everything to the bottom because they did not feel anything immediately. Running past the room where the unconscious boys lay, she says to the others, "Finally reached the right place," and looks at the bandit leader who is sleeping. She says, the first thing they need to do is return the Rand gem. Rand asks if she will really be okay if she does this. Alicia replies that since her hands are free, she will succeed. She remembers how earlier he hid the jewel in his pocket, so now she moves closer to the sleeping giant. The boy lets out such a giant snore that her heart almost stops. She freezes for a moment and tenses up completely. When everything settles down a bit, she carefully begins to reach for his pocket, trying hard not to wake him with her movements. But she finally grabs the precious stone and lifts it up. She says, the next step is to find the handcuff keys in the back. Suddenly she realizes she made a huge mistake. She accidentally took a giant battle axe instead of the keys. Alicia almost loses her mind when she realizes she grabbed a giant axe instead of the keys. She barely manages not to drop it on the floor. Her hands tremble as she carefully leans the heavy weapon back onto the table. The bandit leader is still unconscious, snoring bubbles and all, so she has just enough time to grab the real keys and get to work. A sharp click, the metal locks finally open. Let's go. Luke spreads his arms to the sides and looks completely relieved. He tells Alicia that he finally feels light and thanks her for forgetting those things. But Ren does not let her off. He says that she was too careless with the axe. Alicia understands he is right and replies, we need to act quickly. While the group sneaks up to the exit, they freeze as soon as they see the main gates. Alicia nods that the guards there definitely haven't drunk any of her portion and they look quite alert. Ren looks closely at the guys blocking the way and asks Alicia what the plan is. He needs to know if she will just crash into them head-on. Alicia shakes her head. That's a bad idea. Those guards probably have needles and can dispel her magic. So she curls up in the bushes together with Luke to inspect the supplies, and suddenly realizes there is only one trick left just for such a situation. With a focused look, she tells the guys that she will use an explosive elixir to clear the way. Alicia pulls out a bottle of potion. Her look says nothing needs to be explained. Luke is completely confused. He grabs his head and asks where she got something like that. She answers simply, on the way to the camp she stopped by the warehouse and managed to take it right then. She knew in advance that the moment would be exactly like this. With a proud, barely noticeable smile, Alicia says that that shed nearby is exactly the place where she keeps all the explosive potions she just made. The plan is simple. She will throw the potion to blow the shed to pieces, and they will be able to slip away while the guards are busy putting out the fire. Ren thinks this is a rather harsh way to solve the problem, and Lukao just realizes she is more chaotic than he thought. Alicia notices their faces and asks why they are looking at her like that. She assures, everything is fine, the walls are thick, so the fire won't spread to the trees. Luke understands. He won't be able to persuade her, so he just sighs heavily and says he won't stand in her way. She releases the potion into the air, and in a second the whole house disappears in a giant explosion. The rumble shakes the ground, and the flash illuminates the entire area. The bandits near the gates completely lose control. They scream in fear and try to understand why their storeroom suddenly turned into a fireball. Everything happens too fast. Alicia is thrown back by the force, but Luke is already there catching her before she hits the dirt. Alicia looks a little confused as she thanks him for the rescue, and Luke just looks down at her and asks if she is really okay after such a daring stunt. Luke looks at Alicia and thinks that he definitely did not expect the explosion to reach them. Ren adds, it's good that Luke was nearby to catch her before she hit the ground. Alicia looks up at Luke and says that his reflexes are really impressive. Luke only tries to keep his face calm, but nearby someone panics and starts screaming, because of which one of the guys in panic rushed past them, shouting to everyone to hurry, bring water to the fire. The bandit shouts back, running at full speed, but he stares so intently at the burning house that he doesn't even notice the captive standing right there, giving Alicia the perfect chance to get moving. She tells the guys everything in detail. Everything happened exactly as they planned, and now it's time to disappear. During the escape, Luke looks back and asks what plan they have once they finally get away from the camp. Alicia doesn't hesitate for a second. She says she will go inspect the local plants to determine their exact location and find the fastest way back to the city. Luke stops for a moment and clarifies, can she really pull this off just by looking at some weeds? He sees how she gives him a huge smile and hears in response, it's not a problem because she has already memorized the entire scheme where each magical plant grows in this forest. Ren only sighs and says to her, when she speaks so confidently, it somehow worries him even more, as if something inevitable is about to happen. Alicia tells the guys that she doesn't understand why they are worried. Now they just have to slip unnoticed through the main gates. She is suddenly interrupted by a sharp noise from the handles. She freezes and seriously doesn't understand what exactly is happening. When the huge gates begin to swing and open by themselves, Alicia completely loses her vigilance. There on the other side, a bandit sits on a supply wagon just as confused as they are. Alicia's face immediately pales to the edge. She can't believe that some supply guy chose this very moment to appear and ruin everything. The bandit doesn't waste a minute. He immediately starts shouting, loudly screaming to his boss that he caught alchemists trying to sneak out. He raises a glowing bracelet to his face and shouts, ordering reinforcements to come down there as soon as possible. Luke immediately understands, this is a magical radio. And Alicia knows this even better since that's the case, the bandit leader will be over them in seconds so. The bandit suddenly lunges at her with a self-satisfied smile and declares that at least he will take care of her. She won't escape anymore because she looks like easy prey. But before he manages to touch her, Luke cuts in with a high kick, it hits the guy squarely in the jaw and sends him flying. Alicia Pale freezes in complete shock and looks at Luke after that blow, asking if he even has some secret super powerful trick. Luke just stretches his leg as if it's nothing, carefree says he can handle it himself, but his calm lasts only a moment. Face's face suddenly becomes serious when he says they need to act quickly and in a moment realizes, maybe their time is already up. He barely manages to say this when a huge shadow cuts through the air, and both of them have to fall to the ground. When the giant battle axe blade crashes into the wall behind them, Alicia Pale freezes and instantly understands why this weapon belongs to him. Jaroth appears furious to the extreme shouting at the top of his lungs that they will pay for all this. The powerful axe knife slices through the air, spinning so that the force will break everything in its path and shows exactly how it works. The situation becomes truly dangerous. As soon as Jaroth lands right in front of them, he throws at this pair what they really caused. Alicia starts to panic the path is blocked and Luke calmly admits they can no longer run away. She asks what they should do then and Luke just draws his sword and says, they'll have to fight. Alicia already feels control slipping away. Jaroth is beyond their power, he has 2 level 4 combat skills, and she honestly doesn't know if they even have any chance to snatch victory. But Luke simply calms her down, says everything is fine and buys time, keeping her in steady calm while the enemies get closer and closer. He snatches a sword and casually says, despite not looking the part, he has level 5 swordsmanship. The bandits ignore his words with a battle cry, they rush forward to attack, but Luke doesn't even blink. When blades cut through the air and strike him, he only says, so it has begun, and passes through their attacks as if strolling, not defending. With a single clean strike, he knocks down the first and forces the bandit to gasp for air. Then he immediately finishes off another. With a fierce kick, he sends another thug flying across the entire hall. Watching him work, Alicia cannot help but admit he really is as strong as he said. Luke only gives her a restrained smile and says that, honestly, it's mostly skill that carries all the hard work. The little turtle spirit Rand raises his eyes and wonders, is level 5 really as rare as it seems? Alicia looks at Luke and recalls, his skill always enhances his physical attributes as soon as a sword is in his hands. She understands she has no right to judge, but when she sees him standing his ground against the whole group, it makes her realize, once again. But how crazy is it that at his age, a person really has a level 5 skill? She believes that since childhood he trained to the bone every day to achieve that power. Jaroth spits on the ground angry that his small gang is breaking apart so easily, and growls for the guys to move. He orders his men to grab Alicia and beat her almost to death, while he personally sits next to the child and takes care of her. Luke does not flinch, he only nods, as if these chances suit him perfectly, while Alicia and Calva are going crazy. Alicia points to the flames spreading across the room and shouts, they already have other problems, the house is about to burn down completely. But Jaroth just laughs in response and says their escape ship is already waiting outside. He tells her that right now they will finish punishing the merchants, and then disappear before anyone can stop them. Luke calls Alicia. He is fully focused as he prepares to jump right into the thick of all this chaos. The clash of metal on metal rings out as Luke manages to catch Jaroth's giant axe right on his blade. Gareth just laughs and looks as if he is completely insane already, while telling the boy that he should only worry about one opponent. He orders Lucas to step aside and watch as Alicia is dragged away, but Luke is not going to accept this. He yells at Alicia to run and stay safe for a while because he will join her very soon. The two of them engage in battle, blows fall relentlessly. Alicia watches from the side, stunned that Luke is really holding a fight against a monster like Gareth. Even Rend is momentarily stunned by the spectacle, but Alicia immediately breaks this state. She orders Luke to focus on the fight and leave the rest to her and this kid. The thugs around her begin to close in with disgusting snarls. They jab words into her face. There is nowhere left to run, and she will beg that she had never existed in this world. Rend notices one of them. He is gripping a magical jamming needle. Alicia immediately realized if he stabs her with this thing, her magic will disappear and she will become completely helpless again. Rend asks what the plan is. Alicia sharply changes her tone. She reaches out her hand toward her bag while pulls out a high-level explosive elixir, says that it's finally time to test what this thing is really capable of. The bandits are just standing still and look completely confused. They have no idea what exactly Alicia has planned as soon as she stops running. And their leader growls at everyone, come in and grab her. Alicia casually tosses a small bottle over her shoulder and the bandits. She is caught by a gigantic explosion. Alicia covers her face as the blast scatters bodies everywhere, and in the cloud of smoke only crackling and commotion remain. A few guys manage to jerk away and escape upstairs. They are furious, shouting that Alicia is a girl without a goal and promising to tear her apart. See you next time. Felicia is just looking at them from behind and asks if only two are left. She does not look worried at all. When she shows that she has officially run out of explosive potions, she tightens her gear and tells them that under normal circumstances, she would be completely trapped with no chance to fight back. The guys think they finally have the advantage, but Alicia orders them to look up. Two bandits freeze in place, staring at the sky and racking their brains over what could be above them. It was then that the spirit form of the prisoner fell from the air, a huge torn turtle, as if it had been cut off from the very sky. Bandit. He doesn't even have time to move as they slam him to the ground, and he immediately presses them both into the dirt, instantly ending the fight. One of the robbers freezes in complete shock and raises his head. He cannot comprehend why the giant turtle suddenly falls from the sky. And the whole gang instantly flattens. Alicia stands over them and explains. She used smoke from the potion to hide that she threw Rand, the very one who carried the magical gem, right on their heads. She glanced at the boys lying unconscious on the ground and replied to Rand. For a last-minute plan, everything turned out way too well. But then Alicia notices that Rand looks a bit off. She asks if he feels okay after such a crazy deep dive. Rand admits he was thrown into the air and it brought back terrifying memories of childhood competitions where everyone tried to throw him as far as possible. Alicia feels awful and swears she will never do that again. We move on to another clash. Hero literally goes mad. He lets out an incredible roar from his chest and with all his might brings down his huge axe. The weapon crashes into the ground with a loud, powerful strike. Soil and stones fly in all directions. But Luke is too fast for him. Gareth just stands in place and curses he can't land a single accurate hit on the boy. He yells at Luke to stop jumping back and forth like a beetle, but Luke calmly continues to dodge every swing flying at him. Another bodyguard tries to strike with a heavy blow, but Luke doesn't even flinch, calmly notes that with such crazy heavy swings, they will never catch him. Garrot begins chopping with an axe like a madman, and a real whirlwind of steel rises around him. Alicia stands aside and clearly sees. She is in complete stress from that wild force he is unleashing. She understands that dodging such heavy blows is simply an incredible level for Luca. She would already want to rush to help, but quickly decides that would only distract him. Suddenly, a heavy blow hits Garrot right in the mouth. A suppressed sound breaks out and he is almost knocked off his feet by the force of the hit. Garrot suddenly drops to his knees, clutches his face, and freezes in complete disbelief he has been marked. Meanwhile, Luke just stands calmly, looking down at the bandit leader as if he hasn't even broken a sweat. Continuing to pretend to be tough, Garrot grinds out that he is the legendary Garrot the Battle Axe, and Luca looks at him with an indifferent gaze, as if he doesn't care at all. Jared again and again starts conversations and boasts as if during the war he was the strongest mercenary. Luke doesn't even let him open his mouth, immediately interrupts with a question. What is that supposed to prove right now? Jarrett chokes with rage from the mockery in the voice and from being talked to like a fool, but Luke just shrugs indifferently and explains. Fighting in a huge war is not the same as fighting in a one-on-one duel. Luke admits only because he was tortured daily, beaten almost to death, and trained can he handle him. Otherwise, he wouldn't imagine how it would all go. Finally, Luke tells Garrot, just surrender and capitulate. And the bandit leader grits his teeth, pure rage, but at the same time he looks completely exhausted. Luke finishes him off at the end. Continuing to resist is a complete waste of time, and the losing Garrot probably already understands that he has fully surrendered his positions. Luke keeps it real, admits that it's true, and most likely he simply cannot force himself to actually kill some Garrot. And the bandit leader throws an angry, sticky look at him, as if he has found a weak spot that can be used. Change the balance of power. He suddenly lunges straight at Alicia, throws an axe over his head and shouts that if he is falling, he will take her with him. The man completely loses his mind, shouts Alicia's name and waving everything left in the tank strikes. He decided that he would never forgive them and firmly intends to drag her into the grave right next to him. Alicia panics and asks Rand if he can do anything, while the little spirit dryly replies, there is no choice, they will have to fight back. Suddenly Luca appears right in front of him and tells Garroth that he is truly an extremely annoying loser to attack someone who does not fight. Luca stares at him with a cold look and calls the bandit's name again before. He closes the distance in one sweep and delivers a heavy blow, sending Garroth flying. The bandit leader doesn't even have time to react before he gets hit in the face with solid iron. Gareth falls on his back and is completely out of the fight. Luca approaches and says he is sorry, admitting he didn't think the other would come to such despair. Alicia freezes on the ground for a moment, looks up at Luke, and thanks him for saving her life. Her face is clearly very. The fight is over. Luke stands over her and says it is finally safe enough for them to rush and escape. Alicia jumps up and says they must immediately head to the city, but just then, a loud voice boomed from the gates, and she completely freezes in place. She looks around in panic, searching to see if someone else is hiding nearby. She shifts into a defensive stance and asks if the Gurrat boys are still appearing. She can't believe how many of them are here. But this is not an abandoned establishment. The Red Eagles stand their ground, and the leader looks completely stunned as soon as he sees that she is alive. Org approaches and tells her what he heard in the guild. She disappeared. He is wrung out with worry, so Alicia just politely bows and apologizes and casually mentions that she was kidnapped by bandits, and the whole company freezes, looking stunned, because she is way too calm about it all, as if nothing happened. The entire group panics and buzzes around her, completely losing their heads over her crazy story. Org carefully examines her and says that she seems uninjured, but still sweats and asks if she is really okay. Alicia closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and tells everyone that she is fine. But Org still looks impressed, asks again if she really feels normal, while Luke watches attentively from the side. Org glances at Luke and asks if he is a friend. Alicia explains that Luke is also a traveler, and she officially introduces him as Luke, and he just gives a friendly smile and says hi to the whole group. Then Alicia tells them that he was also captured by bandits just like her, and adds that Luke is actually extremely strong. He has saved her life more than once. And Org just looks at this guy and thinks that he is too good and clearly not to his own bliss. Alicia asks what the team is even doing here, and Org replies, they were searching for her and at the same time hunting for Jeroth. Then he adds that a giant explosion happened nearby. The place flared up and started burning even before they managed to get closer. One of the others grumbles that it's strange. Such a huge structure should have been easily noticed from the start. Org notices some strange, very long object on the ground and wonders if it is the magical tool that hid the base behind the barrier. Alicia lowers her gaze to the broken fragments of the magical tool, the very one that hid the base behind the barrier, and now, after that explosion, everything is completely useless. She voices the losses and Org immediately stops her. Don't worry, his team will handle the rest. Org stands with a face as if he has been squeezed dry, thinking, he did ask to clean up after themselves. He shifts his gaze to Jeroth. He collapsed on the ground completely null. It turns out Alicia almost finished everything before they even got there. Later, the Red Eagles get to work. They tie up the bandits and lead the whole group back to the city of Torid. They even found the workshop leader, Aaron. He was the one who gave the order for the kidnapping, and now he sits in chains going crazy. The guards don't stop. They clear out suspicious middlemen who supplied Jeroth's crew with food and equipment. Eventually, the entire gang ends up locked in the local dungeon. Everyone is shouting and from behind bars blaming each other until. And finally, there is silence again in the estate. The sun peeked out and a long relieved sigh burst from inside the house. Alicia finally returned to her bed. She is completely exhausted and only dreams of being home after everything that happened. Rand finally came home and immediately dived into his little bathtub. Splashes flew, and he muttered that now he can finally soak well. Alicia, completely drained, collapsed on the bed. She says she calls it for the night because she simply cannot move even 1 inch further. And in her head, her thoughts are already rushing forward. She remembers how once she had to leave Luke behind and go talk to the guards, and how he stood there confused, as if he really had no idea what to do next. She cannot stop recalling the expression on his face. He looks so bad. And because of this, a question spins in her mind: what is really going on with him? Even when they are both free from the bandits, she stubbornly convinces herself he did not look happy at all, as if something else is squeezing and pressing on him. Today the square is buzzing. People are just hanging out near the fountain. Several kids run in circles, chasing each other and shouting to not fall behind just after them. And Luke sits alone. When he breaks into memories of the nasty words people threw at him, he looks completely exhausted until the moment someone asks if a child like him even has the right to be in the castle. In his head, again and again, the same thing echoes. He is there only because other kids are worthless, and he is the only one with real talent. Luke got stuck in a childhood memory where everyone once praised his incredible abilities. The maids and knights insisted that he was far better than his brothers, and that was all. These eternal comparisons poisoned his life. His own family began to hate him. His brothers stood over him and longed for him to simply disappear so that his shadow would no longer exist. Turning back to the present, Luke still sits alone by the fountain until Alicia rushes in running and shouts his name, trying to get his attention. He lifts his gaze and freezes. Her face is right in front of him, and one question flashes in his mind: what is she doing here by the fountain? Where did she come from? Alicia is gasping for air after running, but still explains. She found him after talking with the guards. She says she has something important, something she must discuss with him specifically. She immediately gets to the point and asks if he agrees to take on the job and allow her to hire him. Luke is just sitting there with a completely blank face and definitely not expecting such an offer. Alicia does not stop. She presses on and promises that the offer and working conditions will be better than anything he can find. Luke tries to understand what it means. He asks if she needs him as some kind of assistant for brewing her potion, but she immediately rejects this. No, that's not it. She looks him straight in the eyes and clarifies that she actually needs his personal bodyguard. Alicia lowers her gaze, runs through everything that happened in her mind and says to Lucas, in a certain sense, these problems were indeed doomed to appear. Honestly, it looked quite logical, she admits, sincerely adding that she does not fully understand how others perceive her own skills. In short, she understands that she stands out too much right now and that causes only problems. She casts a glance at the city from above. She notices it is quite likely that this will continue further. They sit by the fountain. When Alicia looks Rendu straight in the eyes and says that this is exactly why she needs his help, Rendu picks it up from her shoulder and asks, "Look at me. Find help yourself too." Admitting that he didn't carry everything alone is by no means easy. Luca is silent for a second before answering. He asks if she wants him only because he has that crazy rank V in fencing skill. Alicia does not lie, and says that this is definitely one of the reasons why she is asking, but it's not just about his strength. He again brings up how he said, his own family sold him out and behind while splashes fly from the water. She replies that she found herself in a similar situation. Her own father turned away from her, and that's exactly why she came to this city alone. Alicia lowers her gaze, searches for words to say what is happening in her heart. She begins by saying that she generally doesn't manage to express it well, but when she heard what he went through, she could no longer look at his situation as if it were someone else's misfortune. She tries to explain, it's not that she simply can't leave him alone. Luca interrupts the conversation and asks if she means that she feels sorry for him. This drives her to a white heat, and she shouts in response that it's not like that at all. She trembles with tension, clenches her fists just a moment more. Stumbling, she finally squeezes out, just wanted to help for her own reasons. Luke just laughs and waves it off, says he knows everything and was only joking to see how she would react. He lowers his voice a bit and admits, so much time has passed that no one has told him for a long time that he is really needed for anything. A warm smile awakens on his face. For a moment he freezes, then says, this feeling is by no means bad. He extends his hand and offers, if she really doesn't mind, he will take on the job of her bodyguard. Alicia immediately blushes as soon as Luke tells his new boss that from now on she will be under her care. It seems they have finally reached an agreement. Alicia happily shouts Luke's name as they seal the agreement with a handshake. He replies that he feels the same and will now be under her care. Org clearly feels uncomfortable and twitches in this whole scene. His team can't hold back and bursts out laughing, so much it affects him. Returning to the manor, they find a letter with a heavy wax seal, and the one holding it cannot comprehend what news it might bring. Crown Bromeia scans the paper and immediately starts sweating. He can't believe that Skrull Trading Company is actually leaving his lands. The weight of the situation finally begins to sink in, and it becomes increasingly obvious. For his territory, this will mean complete disaster. In furious rage, he slams his fist on the table and shouts about how they survive on trade taxes. The loss of the kingdom's largest company will cost him more than he can even count. He grabs the throw and abruptly stands up, shouting that he will never allow that company to just leave and abandon his domain. Later, Alicia finds herself in the room again and behaves incredibly restlessly, blushing and twitching in place, while the others just stand and do nothing. She walks back and forth as if boiling inside with that strange energy, and it is definitely clear she doesn't know how to come to terms with the fact that a new guy has appeared nearby. Luke looks at her and whispers to Rand, asking for advice because his new boss is now acting as if he is a rare circus animal. Luke tries to look calm and insists that there is nothing strange here, but she is so restless. Today is a big day. Everything is finally being brought to an end, that's why. Alicia is going crazy with nerves. A sudden knock on the door makes her flinch. A voice asks if they found the right room, and she knows that it is. Time to go. Standing in front of the huge new building, she can't hold back and lets out a loud cry of admiration. The place looks incredible, and this is really happening. Alicia looks as if she is about to cry, just sitting and staring at the results of their hard work, quietly whispering that this is finally done. Above the door hangs a new sign, a bottle with a potion perfectly in place, catching the light and showing everyone. It seems the store is really ready. Alicia peeks inside neat rows of clean cabinets, empty shelves, and she can hardly believe that this luxurious place is already hers. One more moment and the chief worker confidently gives her a thumbs up, making it clear they have finished not only the work in the shop, but the whole estate is completely renovated and ready to work. Even Rand is stunned by the changes. He shifts his gaze to the huge house and says that he barely. This old place is unrecognizable. Alicia just stands with a quiet smile, knowing her life is about to change, and it will happen in a way that will turn everything upside down because that's it, the end of the heavy burden. Officially, it's time to start preparing for the grand opening of her new business. From inside the trading company's building comes a loud voice. He is shouting, demanding the immediate withdrawal of funds. Count Bromeia completely loses his composure. He slams his palm on the table and shouts Eric's name as her tea flies into the air. Erica does not move for a moment and calmly addresses the Lord, saying she simply cannot fulfill what he is asking. She hides a smile behind her palm and thinks, this foolish lord has finally appeared just as she expected. Erica explains that merchants cannot work safely when monster attacks are increasing relentlessly. The treasurer shouts in response that the story about the monster problem is just a temporary echo and actually changes nothing. He folds his arms and, speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear, boasts, the soldiers he trained are already there wiping out the monsters completely. Erica simply takes a calm sip of tea and replies that her sources say one thing: the villages near the forest are still suffering. In a blinding flash, sweat appears on Jack's face as Erica looks him straight in the eyes and asks if he really has completely cleared out every last monster. Catching himself thinking he is trapped, the Count finally gives in and orders, let the soldiers immediately strengthen the patrols. Erica quietly places the cup on the saucer, the clink barely audible, and tells the Count that his current way of doing everything has a limit. After that, she asks, does he even know the real reason why monsters have become so frequent lately? Outside the trading post, workers are loading the cart, and the Count meanwhile clarifies with Erica whether she really claims to have the answer. Erica answers without a shadow of doubt. It is obvious, all because of Alicia. At her words, the Count's calculation freezes and cold sweat runs down his face. She adds that the domain Bromeia had remained peaceful all this time, and only because of that special monster repellent, over which Alicia spent all her time. Alicia worked to exhaustion so that the repellent reached every corner of the territory, but she was expelled. Monsters began to swarm back into this zone again, just like before. Erica warns the Count, if he does not change something, his lands will again turn into a complete monster den. She says that he at least invests some money in preparing potions, but the Count only jerks sharply and orders her to stop babbling nonsense. The Count, with furious rage, pounds his fist on the table. Erica and her assistant flinch and jump back, and he breaks into a scream. He is already fed up with this insolent woman. He actually overturns the entire table, and tea sets and furniture fly everywhere, and then thank you very much. 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 He continues shouting that he is already sick of hearing the name Alicia over and over again, while Erica just looks at him with an empty, expressionless gaze. And he doesn't stop. He insists that the only reason the land was once peaceful is because of the soldiers he trained himself. Then he starts up again and says that some fake alchemist will never truly be able to handle the monsters from the great forest. He stands amid the created mess, boiling with anger, and leaves. Erica sits and thinks, Alicia was right about her father. She is honestly stunned it was enough to just mention the potion and he snapped so fiercely. This leads her to the thought that it's enough just to put a hand on her head. Trying to instill common sense into this guy is a waste of time. She lowers her gaze and tells him directly that if he continues to behave like this, she has nothing more to say to him. So, the guard approaches, sharply stops his movement with a jerk and places a hand on his shoulder, addressing the old man, saying it's time to get out. Erica turns and walks away without even looking back. The Count tries to shout at her to wait. He hasn't finished speaking yet, but she has already parted ways with him. When reality hits him, Nat begins to sweat. He immediately realizes if the trading company retreats, his territory will lose its main source of income, tariffs. And from this thought, he panics, saying that if they lose the largest trading group in the kingdom, a crazy drop in the flow of travelers is inevitable. It's a blow he cannot afford. Then he suddenly snaps his fingers, as if he has finally put the puzzle together. He looks intently at Erica and declares that now he finally understands what is happening. He thinks that this whole story is only about Alicia, and asks if she is doing all this just because she wants to bring Alicia back. And Erica is just standing still, in her eyes complete emptiness, and she barely processes that absolute nonsensical flow he carries. The counter still ticks, and he shouts that he agrees to take Alicia home. He claims he has no idea why someone could have cared about such a little clown like her. But if this question is resolved by "it must be done," he will do it. As if he himself is making the greatest sacrifice so that the trading company remains intact and does not disappear. And he also tells Erica that she should be grateful at least for the fact that he listens to her. Erica stands motionless. Her gaze is shadowed, her lips are about to move, and when the guard suddenly grabs the Count by the collar and quickly covers his mouth. Erica looked at him from above with a sharp smile and sharply, with her finger pointed straight at the ground. She says, if you are already asking for a favor, you have to learn to do it properly. And it all starts with him having to get on the floor. The Count is lying on his knees and barely whispering, begging Erica to stay. But she just sits and pretends not to hear a single word. Saving his own skin, he hits his head on the floor with all his might and shouts that if the trading company leaves them right now, all his dominion will already be over. And then Erica finally shifts her gaze to him. She signs and says that if he breaks down so pitifully over this, then maybe she will have to listen to it and counts. He thinks that maybe he really has a chance to fix it, but as soon as he sees her face, Erica completely loses it and shouts that she will never stay, calls him a real idiot right to his face and also a lord. She moves toward the door, says she is leaving forever, but first intends to name him 2 main reasons why she hates him so much. She explains everything simply and directly. The man has no idea how to manage his land, and she is not going to have any dealings with this clumsy person, especially considering that. The second reason is much more personal. She tells him straight she will never forgive him for taking everything from her best friend. That old lab was a place where Alicia put all her heart, helping the people of this area, and he just took and destroyed it without a second thought. Erica points at him again and says, if he wants even a tiny chance that she will stay, he must admit he was wrong and apologize to Alicia. Erica has already officially annoyed everyone, shouting at the clerk to stop babbling and not get into her head. The game is over, and that's enough. When the Count looks completely cornered, she asks if what he is asking for is even realistic. Erica just throws him a glance, ice cold calm. And she ruins the whole conversation, telling him that if he holds that position, then they have nothing left to talk about. She starts to walk away and commands, let go for now. And the Count goes crazy on the floor, shouting that he is not finished yet. But in the end, he shows his true face, demanding that Erica not be let go because his tax money will quickly dry up without her business. Erica simply keeps walking, feeling a wave of pity for Alicia. Hard to believe, a friend for 16 years dragged along with a guy like that egoist. The shot flies away from the Count's mess to a quiet shop, the only hope left, that Alicia will not suffer too much in the new place. In the shop, the clock ticks closer to the start of the day. It's almost 9, and that means Alicia is about to begin. Alicia is going crazy behind the counter. Her head is spinning. Finally, it's time to open. She asks Luca what they will do if no customers come, but Rand simply replies she is a complete panicker. They are already ready to start. Rand tries to calm her down and says that she has already done everything she could to prepare. Alicia just sighs and nods, maybe he is right. But still, she leans over the table completely on edge. Luke reminds her that even Erica said, in the business world there are no guarantees. And he claps his hands, ordering the new boss to come to her senses and pull herself together so she finally gets into the game. He insists that there is no turning back, they have gone too far. Alicia finally breathes in and says firmly, she is ready. She steps forward and sharply swings the door open, opening it wide, trembling as she greets whoever might be waiting outside. She announces that her shop, the Green Pharmacist, is officially open, and barely manages to get these words out when a huge crowd of adventurers erupts in a shout, rushes to the entrance, and demands that she immediately give them the potions. Alicia just stands there as if stunned, while the guys spread the panic and shout to buy up the last piece of monster repellent she just made. But when the crowd becomes even more furious, someone in the crowd growls that they won't leave a single bottle of insect repellent for anyone else. She can't even understand what is happening here. She just stands and watches this chaos because she never thought so many people would really come. Luke from the door opening watches the chaos and says it would be really good if circumstances turned out happily, but right now, everything breaks down into complete disorder. Travelers get into a fight over supplies. One shouts that he grabbed the bottle first, and the other simply yells back that he doesn't care. Alicia looks at the commotion from the window and immediately understands. If this continues, they won't even be able to open the door to start work. So Luke orders her to stay behind and leave everything to him. He suddenly draws a sword and Alicia panics, asking what he intends to do with this weapon. Luke tries to stay calm. He says, for clarity, he is not going to do anything too harsh with the clients, and then immediately disappears. Then he just laughs and waves his hand, brushing off Alicia's fears, saying there is nothing to worry about. A rather eerie look flashes in Luke's eyes, and he declares that the adventurers can handle this even if it's not the option Alicia was waiting for. But suddenly outside there are screams and crying. Someone shouts sharply what is wrong with him. In a few minutes, a perfectly straight line appears outside, and each traveler fully shows a huge hot steam blister on their head, while Luke keeps watch. A closed sign finally hangs on the door, all thanks to Luke intervening in time, and they manage to avoid a complete disaster. But Alicia, still completely exhausted, stands behind the counter and cannot believe how so many people flooded into the shop on their very first day. Luke stands with his arms crossed over his chest and says, just after the adventurers left, the city housewives and cooks came in a crowd, one after another in pairs. And they wouldn't leave, they stayed. In the shop, every shelf was completely empty. He winks at her. No wonder everyone knows that now this is the shop with the green hair. Luke smiles, remembering how the whole town pitched in and helped distribute flyers. And from the guards to the local maids, everyone wanted her to succeed because Alicia has helped people with her potions so many times that she habitually looks up at him and instantly catches herself trembling. Her work really matters to everyone. Then she can't hold back and reproaches him. He should have said that before they opened the gate, then she wouldn't have had to walk around all morning a nervous wreck. Luke just glides his gaze over her and waves it off. She was so tense that she probably didn't hear a single word of what he told her earlier. Rand intervenes to pick up. She really was disconnected, so Alicia has to end the day in a very awkward pause. The work is not over yet. Alicia loses her composure again when she sees the huge queue still waiting outside, and then it becomes clear to her. Their sales are much higher than they ever could have imagined. The first day is a complete whirlwind. Alicia rushes around the workshop, trying her best to keep up and mix enough potions to fill the empty shelves. Next, even crazier. A whole crowd of women who look wealthy is pressing near the counter, and one of them demands a technical breakdown directly from the alchemist. Luke tries his best to manage the flow of customers, juggling tasks on the fly. Eventually, he sees the last person from the evening queue leave the door. He waves goodbye to her while a mother with a child heads home. The shop finally falls silent, but Alicia looks as if her soul has already flown away somewhere. She mumbles that she's going straight back to prepare stock for tomorrow, and Luke asks if she is even well enough to stand on her feet. He watches her with a worried look as if suggesting, just take a pause and really rest for a minute before jumping back into work. Alicia is not going to tolerate this. She firmly says no to him, because she cannot allow the store to run out of goods after such a wildly successful start. Then she disappears into the back room. Rand watches the door slam behind her and says that managing an entire shop is much harder than it looks from the outside. Luke stands still, holding a broom, and looks very depressed. He tells the little turtle that he really just wants to let her focus on alchemy without all these nerves. But the problem is that her potions are so expensive and cutting-edge that everyone needs a professional explanation, which only she can give, and then he will feel completely useless in front of her. Raynit just glanced at the size and how they look at the big house and quietly cut in. None of them will manage to help her with brewing anyway, so the hard work will have to be carried by herself. A few days pass and the shop is doing better than ever. The shelves are completely empty, sold-out signs hang everywhere, but Alicia feels this is already getting out of control. She looks completely broken. Her head is spinning until she asks Luke if the crowd of customers will continue to grow every day. Luke leans over the counter and tells her that rumors about her potions are spreading too fast. Even people came from the next town just to visit that shop. The snail turtle looks up at her and sounds quite worried, suggesting, hire another alchemist to help before she literally collapses and works herself to death. It turned out that Alicia has the right size. She had already tried to contact the Pharmacists Guild, but it turned out there are currently no free alchemists looking for work. She tries to laugh it all off, puts on a brave mask and tells everyone that she will manage on her own and she will be fine. She says that she will eventually get used to the crazy pace in the store, but Luca does not believe it. He looks her straight in the eyes and orders her to stop pressing so madly. Alicia begins to fight back, stating that once she gets into the rhythm, it will no longer seem such a big problem, but Luca instantly cuts her off. A super dark, tense expression freezes on his face and he repeats for the second time, she must not overdo it. It turns out Luca can be very terrible when serious. Alicia completely loses self-control and quickly promises she understands, let everything go easier. Alicia looks at her tired hands and thinks about how the shop's reputation is finally growing. She feels as if she has no right to stop, but her body definitely feels it. The burden of all this labor. She cannot help but hope. If her potion becomes well known enough, her father will finally admit that her monster repeller really works and will no longer brush it off. Give her some respect. While the shop is already fading, someone appears by the door and they have to shout that this place is already closed for night. As it turned out, it was Erica appearing just as splendidly. She gives Alicia a broad smile and says that this has been going on for too long. After they spoke for the last time, Erica looks back and admits, the estate and the shop are truly impressive, while Alicia stands still in complete shock. He watches her old friend closely. Erica just smiles as if nothing special is happening and says that for now, yes. They probably need to sit down and catch up on everything that has already happened. Alicia, talking about what has been happening in her life lately, looks a bit tense. But they enter the estate to talk, and a second later, a wild scream thunders through the whole house like a loud thunder. Erica is completely losing her mind. She begins to list everything Alicia has done, both the robbery and how she wandered alone in the forest, how she befriended the spirit of the lake, and even how they chased away ghosts together. Get the house? She cannot believe that Alicia also managed to start a war with the workshop chief and get captured by a band of robbers, and asks where she gets so many problems from. Erica bursts out at her and says she warned her. Her skills need to be kept in the shadows. Alicia just stands there a complete zero and admits she has nothing to say in response. Since her friend is right, Erica takes a pause, takes a sip of tea to cool down, and throws out. Although Alicia is a magnet for trouble, she is still just glad that she is okay. One piece, Alicia tries to change the subject and asks Erica what made her come all the way to this city from the first place. Erica gives a serious look and begins to explain the real reason why she had to gather her whole life together. And she even moves her entire business, then drops the news. The territory of Bromeia has recently really become dangerous. Because of this, Alicia has to watch. Completely shocked, she suddenly jumps up and asks if her father really does nothing to help, but Erica just says, they have no real plans. To sort out this chaos, Alicia lowers her gaze and recalls how her father was always arrogant. He claimed that his specially trained soldiers could handle any monsters. Without any help, she is clearly confused, quietly asks if there is even a chance that her old home can be restored. From what has already happened, Erica does not let her linger on this, immediately says straight to her face, it is not her job to worry about such things. Anymore, she reminds Alicia that both she and everyone else have already done their part, warned the Count about that monster remedy, but he still did not listen. Erica says if it was the Lord who drove her out, then he himself must step into the fight and take the blow upon himself. Alicia just looks at her and in her voice uncertainty, is it really all working like that? Erica, throwing her a cold look, notices that Alicia now looks completely exhausted. She sharply changes her tone and tells Alicia that she looks like a ghost, asking if she has even slept at all. Lately, Alicia looks away and admits she really has hardly rested. She says that although the shop is open, she herself is drowning from lack of time, trying to make so many medicines not to fall behind. She puts forward her demand and Erica only sighs, muttering that she knew it. Alicia will eventually fall into the same overwork. Then she decides to help and tells Alicia she will lend her a professional compounder from her team. This sentence completely confuses Alicia. She asks if Erica is really okay with doing something so huge. Erica just raises her thumb, smiles as if to say it's okay, but she will still charge Alicia a fee for the help. When Alicia and Lucas walk through the territory, Lucas says that it is an incredible relief finally they found a compounder. And Alicia just nods in response, agreeing. Now everything will finally move in the right direction. Luke Lyons leaned against the doorframe while Alicia was cleaning and admitted he was shocked that she was friends with someone at the level of Skrull branch manager. Alicia explains that she was just helping out in Eris's workshop back then. She tells him it was a condition of the deal so as not to lose the house. She was given a monster repellent. Luke asks if she knows the person who will come to help, and Alicia promises that someone from. He has cool skills and a strong character. And it was then that Luke noticed Erica driving up to the gates and told her he was waiting for her to show up. Erica gestures to call the person she brought with her and says she is ready to introduce the new professional. She shows a young guy in a white coat and explains that he is from her company, an assembler, and his name is Ren. Luke and Ren just stand facing each other and silently stare, as if the conversation was turned off exactly at this second, without a single word. Luke can't believe they literally hired a child, but Alicia rushes up to meet and greet Ren as soon as she notices him. Alicia meets Ren with a huge smile, says it's been way too long and asks if he is okay. And Ren doesn't move, he just stares at her with an incredibly tense and angry look, as if about to explode. Alicia looks completely confused and wonders why he is so hostile, while Ren only says his name and directly states that he came exclusively to work because his boss told him to. After that, Luke introduces himself while Ren the turtle chirps from the shoulder and says, "Hi." Ren is clearly embarrassed by the appearance of the talking snail. He admits that he didn't think the rumors about spirits were really true, but Alicia is just trying to pretend that nothing happened. In the domain of Bromeia, they were once almost brother and sister, and now she is wildly happy to be on the same team again. Ren just turns his head away and snorts, pretending that he doesn't care about their history or the fact that he is her brother. Alicia remains in despair because of his cold attitude, while Luke and Ren stand aside and watch the awkwardness unfold right before their eyes. She starts to spiral. Maybe Ren actually hates her now after all this time. But even when they were children, they spent all their time together in the laboratory and Ren always pressured her not to fall behind to keep up the pace. Alicia calls Ren when he is already starting to walk away and sharply asks, what's wrong with him? She tries to understand if he is really angry with her, but he brushes it off with a vague answer, as if it's not worth clarifying. Alicia, choking with hopeless despair, sinks down right onto the ground, and Luke activates telepathy and asks if something happened between them in the past. She looks completely exhausted, explains that they were supposed to keep a friendly tone, and because of this, his coldness becomes even more unbearable. Then Luke suggests that they all sit down and finally have a proper talk, while leading her to the entrance. She reaches out and presses her palm to the flickering magical sensor on the door, and just like that, heavy doors begin to slide open and Luke freezes. The entire place here is tightly sealed with a magical emblem. Alicia explains that in her family's old laboratory, her sister Meredith once sneaked around and sold recipes for money. And after her father destroyed the original laboratory, she decided, this new place needs serious protection. She tells Ren that since the doors only work for those she knows, she will now register him in the system. Alicia cautiously tries to get Ren's attention while he is working. And this guy moves as if leaving a smeared trail. He quickly stacks bowls and tidies the room while she just stands there. She silently watches his every move attentively. Without a single word, it seems his speed is so high that there is no gap to start a conversation. Ren doesn't even look her way before sharply ordering her to stop staring and finally get to work with her hands. She is definitely not sleeping, just wants to snatch a little rest for herself as soon as they quickly finish this work. Alicia realizes, deep inside, Ren hasn't changed at all, but she still needs to find out one thing. So she asks if he was really angry all this time, because she didn't say goodbye when leaving the domain. Ren's face instantly twists into pure irritation and Alicia recoils back in fear. He suddenly lashes out at her and shouts that he would never be petty enough to flare up over some vague meeting, especially since she herself has long been used to skipping work and running to the laboratory every time a new idea sparks in her head. So he has already come to terms with the fact that she is a handful. Alicia lowers her gaze, finally finds the strength within herself, and offers a sincere apology for how everything got tangled in the domain. Ren looks her straight in the eyes and tells the truth about why he behaved so angrily all this time. She didn't even try to talk to them or ask for help when everything went awry. He raises the very topic that once came from her father, that he completely cut her off and even burned her to the research lab, leaving her with nothing, only the clothes on her. And Ren asks if she has any idea at all how much everyone around really worried because of her. Ren looks away and it's clear that it hurts her, and then he adds, even when they were close, she still chose to handle everything on her own. He tells her, making such big decisions without saying even a single word is simply disappointing. And honestly, it gives him a crushing feeling. And in general, he and his entire team were never anything special to her from the very beginning. Alice's eyes fill with tears, and she responds by exclaiming that he is absolutely wrong. At these words, Ren freezes. When she tells him that her assembler colleagues are some of the most important people in her life, she admits if they weren't around, she would never have survived those years while her father treated her like trash. Ren continues washing the dishes, not taking his eyes off Alicia, and keeps questioning her why she kept everything inside. Alicia can only look down and apologize for staying silent. She explains that she was just overwhelmed so much that she couldn't think properly. Still, she looks up at Ren and says that she is actually very happy. He cared about her, was not indifferent, and that's what care means, but makes Ren fall silent, lowers his gaze to the water, and says that he is actually the one who should feel sorry. He admits he understood that she didn't mean anything bad, but still loses his temper, starts a quarrel, resists, breaks everything, and leaves. Alicia leans closer and quietly asks if that means he is no longer angry at her. And he just says, yes, he has outgrown it. She asks twice if he really thinks so, and he quickly nods again in response, confirming without hesitation. Relief washes over her, and she bursts into a huge, genuine smile as she says how incredibly happy she is. And then he immediately asks how many days a week she can come to help. She replies that he is so reliable that she wants to be together for a long time. Ren just stands still as if frozen, and his face instantly flushes bright red. Ren snaps at Alicia, stop babbling and just get back to work. He has definitely become himself again in his usual circle. Let them return to the shop to start the morning preparations, and Ren just nods from his shoulder. At the store, finally everything shifted. Since Ren joined the team, they have been producing goods twice as fast as before. And all this hustle already smells like stability. Alicia sees a happy customer. He goes outside and thanks her for coming. Just then Org bursts through the door and enters, holding a huge basket of flowers. He is all sweaty and blushing, apologizing for being late because lately the great forest has been teeming with monsters, but he ignores them, greedily waiting for only one thing, to shout a greeting during the ceremonial opening. Suddenly, laughter erupts from the back rows. He is behaving far too theatrically. Luke informs him of bad news. He just missed Alicia. She, it turns out, is currently on a mission. Ren silently watches from the side and immediately recognizes the famous traveler. And Luke says that Alicia is dealing with shipments at the trading company, so she is either working there or just standing and looking completely exhausted. Since there is nothing more he can do, Org simply leaves the flowers on the counter and leaves. Ren cannot help but think how easy it is to read this guy. Alicia enters the Skrull trading company to meet with Erica and immediately hears the question. Is she really trying to bring all this out into the open? Alicia confirms. Yes, she needs the anti-monster supplies delivered to the soldiers in the Bromeia territories, and all that remains is to make sure her father does not find out about it. Erica freezes for a moment, looks at her intently, and it is clear from this that her plan seems too complicated to her. She asks Alicia if she is serious when she still wants to help this place, especially after her family treated her that way and drove her away. Alicia does not hesitate for a second. She immediately replies that she cannot force herself to abandon people on the territory of Bromeia. She lowers her gaze and explains, being polite is not just a habit. She has a promise to her mother that she must fulfill. Erica sighs for a long time and finally says, all right, she will take care of transportation, but there is one main concern that does not give her peace. She insists that the supplies they will only send will not eradicate the real cause of the monster problem. Alicia is sure that Erica is all business. Monster attacks have become significantly worse lately. She hopes when the monsters are stopped, her father will finally understand that her potion is actually worth something. Alicia glances at the box packed with potions that she packed herself. She really hopes her plan will truly help the territory. And later that same day she sits down to eat with Ren. He calls her by name to get her attention, while she is eating. Then Alicia replies and asks if she ever plans to do anything else in life besides running this little shop. She looks completely blank. What exactly does Ren mean? So Ren lays everything out. Most people buy potions only as a backup option in case of emergencies. In the background, a traveler is visible. He looks very tense because of his decisions, and Ren points out, even if everything is selling now, over time people will stop coming once they have managed to stock up. And customers nearby are already beginning to realize that they bought much more than they actually need. Ren says that her shop really needs a big, reliable business partner to keep everything steady. He is sure that this is the only way to hold on for a long time and promises to see her next time. Alicia stares at him, tension visible in every expression. She asks Ren what he thinks she should do. He can't believe his ears and yells at her, as if she never thought about the business side of things at all. He does not calm down. Again and again he insists to her that she is obsessed only with potions, while Alicia tries to justify herself. Right in the middle of their quarrel, Luke calls her from the door asking, or if she has a chance for a second, he will open the door, holding Calva on his shoulder, and make it clear that there really is a guest who came to her. Ren is completely paralyzed with shock as soon as he hears that it is someone from the Zion region. It turns out a messenger from Lord Gilbert has arrived specifically to talk to Alicia. The envoy from the Sion region bows and thanks Alicia for agreeing to help the Lord with his request and finally arrives at the estates. When the carriage jolts along the road, Alicia looks too worried. She tells the messenger that she is not sure if she can provide any help at all. But Ren slips out from under her hands and declares that they could not just refuse the guy after such a harsh story. Alicia only nods, agrees that they had to at least try. The carriage approaches a huge mansion where the Lord's daughter, Bridget, seems to be suffering from some mysterious illness but no one can find out the reason. They have tried everything to find medicine for her. While the maid leads Alicia inside past a row of maids, it becomes clear. They have already called all the known healers and priests nearby and none of them could do anything. The servant bows low, almost pleading, asks Alicia to save Lady Bridget. They have long been in despair therefore. First, they decided to find Alicia herself. Rumors about the green pharmacist have been spreading in recent days, so they sent a messenger, hoping that she was real. Alicia sits on a luxurious sofa and waits, mentally noting what a good person Ren turned out to be. She left Ren and Luke to watch the shop so she could just take a look at what was going on there. And suddenly she notices the portrait on the wall and asks if it is Lady Bridget. In the painting is Lord's younger daughter, Happy, and next to her is her favorite. Alicia understands. This is the first time she has to meet a lord, not her own father. And Ren notices that most likely this man is about the same age as Ren, just like. The door suddenly bursts open with a crash, and Lord Gilbert rushes inside, shouting greetings to Alicia so loudly and unexpectedly that she immediately loses her train of thought. The man introduces himself as Gilbert Sion, the local lord, and immediately starts pouring out words, pleading for her help. He even drops to his knees and bows to the floor, begging her to save his daughter. Alicia remains stunned. A high-ranking lord can lose his composure so quickly. It is clear he is already on the edge. So she tries to calm him down and asks him to get up, while stubbornly feeling in her thoughts. Everything seems much worse than she had imagined. Gilbert leads her to the door, tightly secured with wooden bars and metal locks, and explains that his daughter is being held there. He issues a stern warning. As soon as Alicia senses even the slightest hint of danger, she must get out of there immediately. Alicia just nods, as if to say she understands. As soon as Alicia steps into the room and calls Bridge, a giant swipe of claws rushes through the air right in front of her face. And in the shadow stands Bridget with wild, disheveled hair and horror in her eyes. She lets out a loud, beastly growl. Alicia froze in place and looks at the girl, and Bridget's appearance turned out to be much brighter than she expected. And Randall. And he shouts for her to come back just as Bridget dashed forward with a terrible roar. Claws extended, and her face completely wild. Heavy chains on the girl's collar suddenly tighten and lock firmly, stopping the attack at the very last moment. Alicia sits on the floor, catching her breath and thanking Rand for the rescue. As they retreat and close the door, Lord Gilbert rushes to check if she is all right, and explains that he has already called all the top doctors and priests nearby, but none of them could figure out what was wrong with him, so everything remained. The poor man breaks down in tears as he begins to tell how once his daughter was the kindest, sweetest girl. Worried, she looks around at herself and wonders how anyone could have ended up in such a state, then slowly raises her eyes to the girl's portrait. She smiles happily, as from that very moment when it all began, and tells Gilbert that there is one thing she really needs him to know. She asked him if Bridget had any encounters with a monster just before her conditions started to change. When Gilbert just looks at her, shock on his face as if the thought had never even crossed his mind. Lord Gilbert said that a gray wolf was spotted in the forest attacking people, so Bridget went out a Lanido deal with the beast, and this led him to. She boasts that she has a magical level of forewind and that magic has always been her innate power. Alicia listens and she whispers something to herself, feeling how everything the Lord says perfectly fits the theory she already held in her mind. She looks Gilbert straight in the eyes and says that Bridget is actually not sick, she suffers from what is called monster possession. Alicia explains the science behind it. When a monster dies, its physical body is the only thing that must remain behind. Although usually the soul turns into mana and disappears. In very rare cases, especially when a powerful mage is nearby, it does not. Some may accidentally absorb too much mana, and then it eventually traps the monster's soul inside its own body. The household servants are completely disheartened. Even the most famous mages and high priests have not yet been able to unravel this mystery. She just happened to remember that she once read about this in some old books at home, and Ren decided that it was about legendary research works. But the best news is ahead. Alicia, with tears in her eyes, tells Gilbert that while she obtains the necessary materials, she will brew a potion to fix it. Gilbert was trembling with excitement and assured he will find any material she needs, no matter how hard it will be to find like he. He was practically begging Alice to save Bridget, insisting that he places all his hope in her hands. A sudden pressure momentarily throws Alicia off balance, so Gilbert clarifies, "Is everything all right and can she start right now?" She quickly recovers, apologizes for the delay, and then begins to explain exactly which materials they will use, starting with some grass of Yuri's, usually just to keep monsters away. Light leaf, the same thing people use for exorcism potions, and finally, she adds a flower of sunlight to the mixture. Alicia tells the group that these plants require very specific preparation for everything to work properly, and while she lays out and prepares the tools, she warns everyone, be careful, it's about to get too bright. Gilbert just nods and doesn't look away, ready to do whatever she says to keep the process going. Alicia directs all her energy to the flower, pouring magic into it to awaken the power hidden inside, and a massive flash of light floods the room. Gilbert screams and complains about his eyes while Alicia carefully asks if he is okay. She reminds him that she told him to be careful, but he is still lying on the floor completely confused, as if stunned. Gilbert apologizes and admits he was just too curious. He wanted to see how she works while Alicia was running. And he just looks at Alicia, not understanding how she can remain so calm when there is so much light on her face. Alicia tells him that a true compounder would never let a single spark of glare stop them, and Rend is sure only she can do it. She finally calls upon her mastery to complete the work, and Gilbert watches as the magic begins to settle, leaving. The finished product is already sitting in the bottle, an elite exorcism potion made to erase evil and its mood. Alicia extends the bottle and says that it should bring back his daughter, and Gilbert begins to thank her endlessly. Alicia stops him and adds that there is one more thing they need to do to make sure the medicine truly sticks. Alicia explains that it's not just about the potion, and tells Gilbert to keep calling Bridget's name. As she insists this, the soul of the gray wolf fully takes over her daughter's body. To remove that spirit from her, Alicia says he needs to inject strong memories or feelings, anything that will help Bridget find her true self again. Alicia looked at the girl and said that even now she is bound. It is still dangerous for Gilbert to come so close, but he doesn't care. Gilbert tells her if this really brings back his daughter, then no danger will stop him. Alicia watches him leave and can't help but think how different he is from his father no matter what. They are both high-ranking lords. Bridget continues to hiss like a wild animal until Gilbert approaches with the bottle and assures her that he will fix everything. And he begins to pour the highest quality elixir directly into her mouth while she resists, fights him. The girl releases a wild piercing scream from magic and the servant nearby immediately bursts out, shouting that this is too dangerous. Gilbert shouts with all his might, begging Bridget to remember even for a moment who she really is. And then he extends to her the past, says that she has always been his dearest daughter and the only one destined to lead their land as a lady. At that moment, Alicia involuntarily recalls herself. Her own father treated her the same way. Once Gilbert told Bridget that a woman trying to be a master is just a joke, but he relentlessly talks about how skilled she is in magic, and about the heart through which everyone in this camp falls in love with her. His voice trembles as he rewinds his own cruelty in memory. He told her that brewing potions is a waste of time, and that he does not want her to disgrace the family name. Now he simply breaks down, cries as he says he only wants to hear her, see her smile, and eat peacefully with her again. He utters his last plea that she just return, and Alicia stands nearby silently watching all this. And she cannot hold back. A little jealousy stirs in her chest because despite everything, the father cares so much about his child. Even through the growling and the appearance of the monster, Bridget's expression begins to change as if the words really break through the darkness. The girl sobs through her beastly teeth and Alicia wants to believe more than anything in the world that the love of this man will truly save his daughter. Gilbert shouts to Alicia that something is coming out of his daughter's body, and at that moment, the massive spirit wolf begins to detach from her. Alicia immediately recognizes it is the gray spirit wolf that caused all this. She only watches them. Her own memories surface in her mind, and she quietly says that she knows exactly how truly important a father's love is. So Alicia pulls out her tools and makes a promise. Never again will this monster possess the girl. She pushes the work forward. She calls the potion for exorcism with a scream so that everything works while the liquid splashes through the air. The spirit lets out a final terrible scream, and Alicia holds her position, telling herself that she must protect this family. Everything freezes as soon as Bridget finally wakes up. Now she looks like an ordinary girl again. Behind her, Gilbert completely breaks down and cries tears of happiness. His voice is so loud that it carries throughout the entire estate as he shouts at the top of his lungs. His daughter is finally cured. Meanwhile, at the watch base on the edge of the great Bromeia forest, soldiers stand guard at night. And everyone shouts with joy because fresh supplies of monster repellent have just arrived to help them keep the territory safe. But one of the guards, squeezing the bottle, chokes a little and says that he really thought it was all over when Alicia was kicked out and the monsters started going crazy. Guards at the Bromeia border finally relax, and one of them says he can finally get some sleep now. The cargo is already here. His buddy asks what exactly he is holding. Their mood instantly dies as soon as Count Bromeus appears, looks as if he is about to kill someone. The guards start shaking and scream Lord Thomas's name in panic. Thomas stands over them and says that he heard monster attacks have gone up, so he came down to give them some motivation. But what he finds disgusts him. He looks at the box and mutters that it's pathetic. His people cling to cheap potions like cowards. One of the guards begs him to stop and claims, without them the whole territory will fall. Thomas doesn't want to listen to this and calls them weaklings, after which he smashes all of Alicia's creative work to pieces. Meanwhile, things are going much better at the White-Blue estate. Bridget has finally become herself again. She bows politely and introduces herself flawlessly. She looks directly at Alicia with a warm smile and says that she is sincerely grateful. Her ailment has finally passed. Alicia cannot believe where the child got such grace from, and thinks that Bridget behaves much more elegantly than any 10-year-old child should. Alicia replies that she is just glad to see her back on her feet, and while they sit together in the living room, Bridget leans closer, beaming with a huge smile, and shouts that all this is thanks to her incredible older sister Alicia. Bridget finally falls silent and hides her face, apologizing for losing control and getting so upset. While she starts spinning in place and dancing, exclaiming that Alicia's healing elixir worked like magic, joy overwhelms her especially strongly. The ugly scars from the shackles have completely disappeared. Alicia just smiles and says that she is pleased to see how well she is doing. But the servants behind Lord Gilbert can no longer hold themselves. They sob with joy, crying their eyes out. Ren sits on Alicia's shoulder, looks a bit skeptical, and says that something still seems off in this whole situation. Gilbert cannot stop the tears. He sobs, insisting that his daughter has finally returned to the way she was before. And he simply collapses onto the floor, makes a full bow, and bursts out screaming that he doesn't even know where to start, thanking her for it. Alicia trembles with panic and reaches forward, begging Lord Gilbert and all the servants to get up from the floor. She tells them that since yesterday she has been fully grateful to her, but Gilbert is not yet ready to let go of this gratitude so quickly. He cries incessantly and insists, no matter how many times he says thank you, millions still won't be enough to repay her. He looks at her through tears still shining in his eyes, and asks if there is anything in the world that she herself desires. Gilbert tells Alicia that he will get her everything she wishes for, but Alicia and Kelvin just freeze in place, completely motionless and not knowing how to react to this. Erica joins the conversation and suggests, let Alicia just handle the business with her shop, and this throws Alicia off balance. Erica does not stop and continues to lay everything out clearly. She says she really was looking for a new partner, so she thinks they should at least sit down and discuss everything properly. When Erica mentions that they have a product called monster repellent, Gilbert and Bridget look as if they have just seen a ghost. They both rush forward with overly focused, tense faces, shouting over each other and asking if she is really ready to sell them that repellent. Alicia looks completely confused by their energy and asks if they really already knew about everything she does. Gilbert tells her that, of course, yes, and explains. In the neighboring region, Bromeia is used to keep monster damage under control. He looks completely depressed when he admits, in fact, he really wanted to get it for his land, but the things themselves are just incredibly hard to find. Bridget's advertisements, of course, claim that it is not as bad as Bromeia's, but people in the Sion region still fight monster attacks every day. Alicia looks at the map and realizes, there is so much nature here, so much big forest, the perfect place where monsters will appear, like in her old home.